People say I'm no good, but they never, never do, they say, why their world is so mixed up, or how it got that way. They all look at me and they frown. Do I really look so strange? If they really dug themselves, I know they'd want to change. Everybody says you're no good, 'cause you don't do like they think you should. Do you expect them, and do you expect you to act like them? Look at them, man, look at the fix they're in.
Right.
I don't care what they say.
Darling.
Just let them sit there and burn. The young might not be so dumb after all, and from the young you might even learn. Everybody says you're no good, 'cause you don't do like they think you should. Do you expect them to act like you? Do you expect them to expect you to act like them? You expect to see, you expect the fool to see what a fix he's in. Do you expect the fool to see what a fix he's in? Cardboard houses and your tin can car. You sit there and you wonder,
Darling, you are going back to sleep. Come on.
Those diamond rings, they're all the same. You sit there and you wonder, and you say,
I'm putting them on you, think.
Take a look at yourself. Take yourself off the shelf. You can't belong to nobody with your can't cough medicine and your wonder drug. You got more sickness than you got cures of cancer.
I'm sorry about the row last night.
There's a time for living.
It's my fault.
The time keeps on flying. Think you're loving, baby, and all you're doing is crying. Can you feel? Those feelings real. Look at your game, girl. Look at your game, girl. What a mad delusion, living in that confusion, frustration and doubt. Can you ever live without game? The sad, sad game.
Yes, I'm sure.
Mad game. Just to say your love's not enough. If you can't be true, you can tell those lies, baby, but you're only fooling you. Can you feel? Those feelings real. Look at your game, girl. Oh, look at your game, girl. If you can't feel, and the feelings ain't real, then you better stop trying. Or you're gonna play crying. Stop trying, or you're gonna play crying. That's the game. Sad, sad game.
It's not, but I want the tone.
Game.
There's a spot I'm in. I've got to be careful. Cooperative she's being. She's making it as tough for me as she possibly can. If I'm going to get her to agree to the divorce, I've got to make sure I don't antagonize her.
My world is a sad world.
Are you sure you want it?
Often wondered if there's blame. Such a fool
Oh, Barbara.
and mad man.
Come on now, you know I want it.
With no pictures in my frame. Everyone says crazy fool. You're always gazing at the night. With my arms around the tree, loving life with all my might. Crazy as I may seem, not knowing what to do.
Wouldn't it be marvelous
With
if
one
that were
crazy
ours?
dream.
At 15,000, you must be joking.
I awake every evening and somehow stumble through the night.
How did you get
Such a
it?
fool
It was
in a
easy, my
mad
love.
world.
You're the honored
Life
representative.
with all my mind. My world is a sad world. Often wondered if there's
What did they
blame.
find out?
My dear
Such a
love,
fool
will you
in a
ever sitting
mad,
in the
mad
harness? How
world.
can he? God bless you, sir, and may the sun rot you.
Loving you without a name, with no love, no one to blame.
Who is it?
Meter man.
What?
Meter man. Come to check the meter.
Pretty girl,
Gas company.
pretty girl.
It's a meter man. Come to read the meter.
Cease to exist,
Pretend you live
just
here.
come and
Get
say
rid
you
of him
love
quickly.
me. Give up your world. Come on, you can't be.
Miss Wilson, eh? That's right, eh? Miss Wilson.
I'm your kind.
It'll only take a second.
Oh, your kind I can see. Walk on, walk on. I love you, pretty girl. My life is yours. Yeah, you can have my word.
Where is it?
Never had a lesson I ever learned, but I know we all get our turn. I love you. Never learn not to love you. Submission is a gift. Go on, give it to your brother. Love and understanding is for one another. I'm your kind, I'm your kind, I'm your brother. I never had a lesson I ever learned, but I know we all get our turn, and I love you. Never learn not to love you.
Didn't you know there was
Never learn not to love you.
Getting out of here.
Never learn not to love you.
I am sorry. He seems to be asleep. Your husband is still asleep, Miss Willison. I'll try the bathroom then. Well, get rid of him for heaven's sake.
The bathroom's over here.
okay?
Ladies
Yes, it's okay.
and gentlemen, coming to
What is
you
it?
live
What
from
do you
a
want?
small
He's my
secluded
partner.
cabin in the
I'm
woods,
Tom.
from
He's
my
Dick,
mouth to
and
your
Harry's
ears
waiting
through the
downstairs.
sticky
Yes,
webs
Harry's
of the
waiting
internet,
downstairs,
playing
just in
through a
case.
very large and corporate
Read it.
platform called YouTube, covering the paranormal, the weird,
Yes.
the supernatural, and
No.
everything else they don't want you to know about.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
it, yeah.
C2C, and I am your
Found it.
host, American
What is it then?
Gadfly.
Well, I don't know.
It may
All
be
right,
in the
folks.
bathroom.
So, You
Or
were
in the
listening
kitchen.
to the
I don't think he looked
cool
very hard in the
jams
kitchen.
of a Mr. Charles
Miss
Manson.
Wilson's husband is still asleep.
Everything you were hearing there was
Miss Wilson's
written,
husband is.
and sang
He's still
and
in
played
bed.
by Mr. Charles Manson himself. So
Dozy.
I hope everybody enjoyed that. I
Maybe
thought
there's
it
been
was
a mistake.
little,
Maybe it should be
nice little
Mrs.
touch.
Willison.
Um,
Let me see that.
all right, so let's go ahead and
No. Top floor flat.
let's go
Miss
ahead and
Willison.
say hello
Miss
to the chat.
Barbara
We've
Willison,
got
right?
joining us tonight.
Right. Now, will you please get on with it
Naomi
and get out of
Diaz,
here?
Let's get
Tyro.
on with it. I'll check the kitchen.
I
Have a good look.
think I'm going to call you Tyro. The Muse,
Is this it?
Cleo. Glad to see
Yes,
you.
that's the
Muse,
kitchen.
Patrick T. How's it going, Patrick? I think
You'll find it.
Patrick said he just
Dick's
finished
good at
watching all the
checking
old shows.
things. He
so
checks everything.
that's a
He's
lot
got
of
the
watching.
magic
there.
eye.
We're up to number.
Yes, I'm sure he has.
what are we up to,
If you don't mind, I'll go
35?
and get dressed. I'll be a
Where's
little late
this?
for work.
34.
Oh, wait a minute.
C2C
It'll
episode
only take a minute.
34. So yeah, glad you enjoyed that.
Dick's
Not
good.
a serial killer has joined us
He's
in the chat.
terribly quick.
I'm very excited that you're
Oops.
not a serial killer. I'm sure everybody in the chat is more comfortable
That's
knowing that.
quite all right.
Fistable Frodo joins us. How's it going, Fistable? Zodiac, who just subbed to the channel about 30 minutes ago. Glad you could make it, Zodiac. Laura joins us.
What time do you
I
have to be at
believe
work?
she wants to hop
9
on
o'clock.
later on tonight when we get
What's the time now then?
the Manson stuff. She's got a
About
couple
20
of
past 8.
creepy
Well,
stories
that's all
for
right
us.
then, isn't it?
Jessica
I
H
found
is in the
He
chat.
found it. Yes,
She
it
has
was over on the
somehow
other side of the
managed
floor
to
by the back door.
hack into YouTube
There's no back door.
and get black hearts. And that is pretty cool. Glad you can make it, Jessica. Cytoplast, how's it going, Cytoplast? And Brad Young, the original, the one.
That's the
Brad
only way out
Young, glad
there.
you can make it, sir.
Yes.
Zach Lomby, glad you can make it, Zach. I appreciate
Well,
you,
that's
sir.
not
I
very
see
handy,
you
is it?
slamming my channel
I mean,
out
in
there
case
for
of
me
fire or
all over the
something. Not
place.
very safe, not very hygienic.
Good
Could you
stuff. Death
take
from
a
above,
reading?
glad
No.
you can make it, Death.
I didn't have a pencil.
I know there's a couple of more. Lacey Ann,
Oh,
glad you can make it, Lacey. Alexandra's
Okay.
here, glad you can make it, Alexandra. And Pam M, how's it going, Pam? So glad
won't
you
be
can
long.
make it out as well, ma'am.
Tom's very good at reading
All
because
right,
he's an
so
expert.
that is
Yes.
everybody in the chat. Glad all of you could make it out. So yeah, so normally I've gotten into this groove
doing?
of doing an opening
securing the
segment, and then doing
So no one can come in.
the
I mean,
Charles Manson, or
We don't
the
want to
main
be
segment.
disturbed while we're reading the
We got
reader,
the
do we?
segment at the end where
Bruce?
people come on.
Did
So
you call
for
me?
the
No,
opening
she called
segment, the
Bruce.
opening segment's pretty short
Bruce?
tonight. I
Bruce!
got one
Yes,
thing
Bruce.
for you, and it's
Bruce? Did you take a reading
oh, I'm
then?
sorry, Joe.
No.
No, I didn't mean to miss you.
I
sir.
didn't have my
apologize
pad.
for that. Glad you can make it out.
What's going on here?
Zodiac asks,
What
I'm
the
new,
hell's
so I don't
going
know
on?
all the lore. This show
Looks
is about
like it.
true
Hasn't got
crime,
press yet, done,
paranormal,
yeah.
etc. Because I love that
We're sorry
kind
to
of
have
shit.
disturbed
Yep,
you,
that's
but,
what we do here. We
we're
cover
just taking
the
a reading of your meter.
paranormal, the weird, the supernatural,
Miss
and
Willison's
everything
meter.
else they don't want you to know about.
Are
Which
you
covers
Mr. Willison then?
conspiracies.
What
and
the hell's it
all
got to
kinds
do
of
with you?
crap.
Get
So,
on with it.
If you're into that kind of thing,
Darling,
then you're
they've
gonna
locked the
fit
door.
right in here.
Lock the door.
So yeah, the thing I have for our opening segment
What have you done
tonight
that for?
For security.
is
Just to be on the safe side.
UFO that was spotted
Look, I think you
over
better get
in
it.
Oh,
Italy.
we'll go. We won't be long.
And
You better go right now, otherwise.
a person was
Otherwise
able
what?
to
Otherwise
capture
I'll
it
call
on
the police.
video. And it's actually a pretty cool shot.
We are the police.
So the video
Special
is pretty
branch.
short.
Yes,
it's
we're
only
making a
30
checkup. You
seconds,
see, there are a
but
lot of things
I
we
thought
have
it was
to check.
cool, and we try to have that opening segment
yours, isn't it?
because I like having one. So I'm gonna play that for you guys right now.
fine.
You're gonna see me flip over to my circle. In fact, you know what? I don't know if it's there or not, but if not, I should have my headset on there. I'm gonna flip over to my circle, and then you guys are gonna see the video. So here we go.
Yes. It's
And-
been cut
Okay,
off.
cool. You can still see
Harry took
me.
care of that.
Now we gotta
Yes.
make sure you can still hear
Harry
me.
took care
Now
of
let's
that
make sure you
downstairs.
can
What do you want? Do you want
see
money?
my
Money?
circle, which is
We've got money. Yes. We've probably got more money than you have.
where's the my circle? My dashboard. There it is. My circle.
There isn't anything of
All
any
right,
value
there
here.
is the my circle.
Oh, I
It's
wouldn't
queued
say
up
that.
for the wrong videos. Let me
What do you
press
think?
back one time. Yeah, I realized today that my circle, when you upload videos, they stay there. So.
Oh, no, Tom.
Anyway, I won't say why that's
Well, what
funny,
do you
it's
want?
funny.
What do you want, for Christ's
here's
sake?
the UFO right here. I've got it queued up.
Whose sake? Christ's sake, he said!
That's not very nice.
That's not nice at all. That's not very hygienic.
I think you'd better sit down, don't
Yes,
you?
I think
Hopefully
he'd
you
better
guys
hat.
can hear that. Now, what's interesting here in a second, you're going to see it come to a complete stop. Watch this. It just stops on a dime.
Did you bring the provisions?
Check this out.
Oh,
See that?
yes.
It just stopped
Plenty of
midair.
provisions.
It's pretty wild. And then it takes off back behind the mountain. That's it. Yeah, so like I said, it wasn't a whole lot to that. Go back to our opening segment here. Yeah, it was just a cool video that came across. Jessica H says, "Is that fire or reflection?" I'm pretty sure that was just a reflection off the back of it. So, I don't know. PMM says drone. There's no way to know how big that thing is. But I will say that I have yet to see anything stop on a dime while it's flying like that. Helicopters come pretty close, but it doesn't quite stop like that. It's more of a quick slowdown. That thing stops on a dime, and that's not something I've seen before. So it was interesting. Yeah, I do think it was metallic. I think what you see coming off the back there was sunlight, but obviously it's not the best recording. I'm not sure the person did the best they could with what they had, but that's just what it looks like to me. Zach says, "I bet AG had porn saved in his My Circle." You just saw it. Everything you see there is everything I've ever uploaded to My Circle. So I'm sure that thing's going to fill up as we go. We are joined by yeah, so that's it for our opening segment. Like I said, it was short. Somebody asked us that in the room. No, that was in that video was recorded on the 29th of May, so just a couple days ago. It might have been recorded a couple days before that. That's when the article was. So, anyway, all right. So let's go ahead and jump into the Manson stuff here.
Your turn.
Now, I am going to warn you, there are some graphic pictures that are going to pop up as you're watching this. Just a few. So what I'm going to do, because there's a lot of material here, there's a lot of stuff. I've kind of got it broken out into sections in the article. So what I'm going to do is in between the sections of all the stuff that I put together, it's compiled from like 4 or 5 different articles, all over the place, really, into one document. So as I'm going through that, I won't be looking at the chat, but I'm going to stop in between each section and I'll check out the chats if you guys have questions for me or what everybody's doing.
I saw that!
So, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Lacey Ann says, "Thanks for the warning. I have a light stomach." Yeah, this might be a little rough for you then. There's the first one right there.
On the
Good
leg.
luck, folks. All right. Okay, so
Not being very polite.
in the beginning,
I think he's got a
troubled
mean streak in
childhood
him.
for Manson. Charles Manson was born Charles Mills Maddox on November 12, 1934, in Cincinnati, Ohio, to 16-year-old Kathleen Maddox. Kathleen had run away from home at the age of 15, presumably out of rebellion from her religious upbringing. Shortly after Charles's birth, she married William Manson. Despite their brief marriage, her son took his name and would be known as Charles Manson from then on.
No wonder.
Kathleen was known to drink too much and spent periods of time in jail, including prison time, for strong armed robbery in 1940. It also seems as if she really did not want to be a mother, as demonstrated by one story that Manson often tells.
So just be...
Mom was in a cafe one afternoon with me on her lap. The waitress, a would-be mother without a child of her own, jokingly told my mom she'd buy me from her. Mom replied, "A pitcher of beer and he's yours." The waitress set up the beer. Mom stuck around long enough to finish it and left the place without me. Several days later, my uncle had to search the town for the waitress and take me home. Since his mother couldn't take care of him, Manson spent his youth at the homes of various relatives. These were not good experiences for the young boy. His grandmother continued the religious fanaticism she pushed onto Manson's mother, and one uncle ridiculed him for being too girly, even dressing him as such for school. In another situation, the uncle he was staying with committed suicide because his land was being seized by authorities.
Miss Wilson.
So now we get into
I work in
the
the shop.
teen years
Sort
of
of a shop.
Manson. So after an
fresh shop.
unsuccessful reunion with his mother, because of her
Self-interest,
latest
eh?
boyfriend, Manson began to steal at the age of 9. His first encounter with incarceration was at Indiana's Guy
What
Bolt's
about
Home
you,
for
Bruce?
Boys. This would
You
not
work in
be
the same
his
shop,
last
do you?
reform
You sell
school,
dresses
and it
or
wasn't
sweaters,
long
maybe?
before he added burglary and auto theft to his repertoire.
He's in a mean
He would
mood.
escape school, steal, get caught, and be back in reform school again.
Harry was supposed to have
over
taken care of that. Supposed to have taken care of that downstairs.
As a teenager, Manson was a loner and often lived on his own when not incarcerated. This is when he started to become the master manipulator that would shape his
Is there a phone
behavior.
downstairs?
He became adept at knowing what he could get out of whom.
We
When he
don't
was
want to have to
17,
tie you up,
he
too.
drove
Nicer
a
if we don't have to
stolen
tie you
car
up.
across
Did they ever give you any
state
sweat?
lines,
That shop of your work,
leading
ever give you any
to
for
his
yourself? Don't
first
give you a sweat
federal
or two.
offense and a stint in federal prison. During his first year there, he
Harry
racked
should
up
have
8
taken care
assault
of that.
charges before being
He
transferred
slipped
to another facility. Now, I'm going to add to this right here. Throughout the day, I've been watching like interviews and little things of Manson. It's believed, it was written in a book, that at these reform schools, Manson was raped and beaten quite often. Manson said that that didn't happen, but the way he said it didn't happen, it looked like he was lying. So, although the thing I'm reading here doesn't go into a lot of detail on that, I just wanted to point that out because if that's true,
Everything seems to be all right, doesn't
certainly
it?
might explain some things.
Everything's fine.
All right. So, in 1954, at age 19, Manson was released on parole after an unusual
You haven't got any glasses in there, have you?
behavior. The next year, he married a
No.
17-year-old waitress named Rosalie
Where'd you keep your
Willis,
glasses, Miss
and then
Willison?
she
In the
took
kitchen,
off for
probably.
California in a stolen car.
Yes.
It was not long before Rosalie became pregnant. This was beneficial for Manson because he actually got him probation rather than prison time for stealing
Please
a
don't
car.
cry anymore, Miss
His luck would
Willison.
not last, though. In March 1956, Rosalie gave birth to Charles Manson Jr. Now, Charles Manson
Music,
Jr.
dancing.
committed suicide in 1993, just to throw that out there. But just one more month before, his father was sent to prison after his probation.
People will
was
spend the
revoked.
rest of your lives in
That's
prison
what
for
she
this.
gave
You know
birth
that,
to.
don't you?
The sentence this time was 3 years
You're
in
not going to play
Terminal
our
Island
games.
prison.
We're just going to ignore
After
you.
just 1 year,
Is he playing
his
up
wife
again?
He's being
found
very-
someone new, left town, and divorced Manson in 1957.
We'll ignore him.
That's what I thought.
We won't give him a drink.
Definitely not.
So, I'm also going to throw in here, Manson goes into graphic detail about a murder that he witnessed while he was in prison here in 1957. It was pretty pretty gruesome. He was still pretty young. I guess they killed a guy, and assuming he didn't make it up, they killed a guy and stuffed him in a trash can and hit him. So
Have a drink, Miss
that was
Wilson.
pretty crazy.
Dick's
right.
poured you a drink.
So
Wouldn't you like it?
Manson
good whiskey,
Con
best.
Man. Hey, Snow Muffin, how's it going?
I bought it
In
last night.
1958,
It'll do you good.
Manson
You'll
was
like it.
released from prison. While out, Manson
I think.
began pimping in Hollywood.
Oh,
He also
just
conned a
check
young
the
woman out of money, and in
That's a
1959
very good
received a
idea.
10-year suspended sentence for stealing checks from mailboxes. He also married again, this time to a prostitute named Candy Stevens. Her real name was Leona, and fathered a second son, Charles
You wouldn't want to
Manson.
offend us, would
She
you?
would divorce him shortly after his
I
next
mean,
prison sentence.
when you're invited to a party and given a drink by the host,
There's
it's an insult not to enjoy it.
There's a very obvious joke there. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife, Charles. Sorry,
Drink
that
up
was
there.
that was in my system. I had to get it out. This arrest occurred on June 1st, 1960. The charge was crossing state lines with the intent of
All of it, Miss
prostitution,
Wilson.
and it led to the immediate revocation of his parole. He was sentenced to 7 years and sent to McNeil Island Penitentiary off the coast of Washington State. Part of his sentence would be served back in California's Terminal Island. It was during this prison sentence that
good.
Manson began studying
You're
Scientology
really in
and
the mood.
music.
Have another.
He befriended the infamous Alvin Creepy Karpus, a former member of Bob Barker's gang. After Karpus taught Charles Manson to play the steel guitar, Manson became obsessed with making music. He practiced all the time, wrote dozens of original songs, and started singing. He believed that when he got
Don't
out
you
of
wish you
prison,
could join the
he could be a
party?
famous musician.
Not too tight, are they? Not too loose, are
There
they?
was something here. What was it?
That's all right then.
Anyway,
Right.
there was something in there that
Far
reminded me of,
too
Scientology. So, yeah, I just wanted to point out that, this is when he started looking at Scientology. So, I just wanted to reiterate that part, and I couldn't remember
The
what it
sun's
was.
coming
I
up.
wanted to reiterate there
I
for a
think
second.
it's going to be a fine
Anyway,
day.
all right, back to
The
the thing.
sun's too clean for a party.
On March 21st,
Think I'll close the
1967,
curtains.
Manson was once again released from prison. This time, he headed to San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury, where, with a guitar and drugs, he blended in and began to get a following. This is about the same time that he lived close to the Process Church and probably became associated with them. Hey Doc, how's it going? Hey Hawk. Mary Brunner was one of the first to fall for Manson. The UC Berkeley librarian with a college degree invited him to move in, and her life would change forever. It was not long before she started doing drugs and quit her job to follow Manson
What's she
wherever
doing to
he
me?
went. She was the key figure who helped entice others to join what would be called the Manson family. Now, just real quick as an aside,
Just
does
getting
this sound like Harley Quinn and the Joker a little bit right here? Mary Brunner was one of the first to fall for Manson. The UC Berkeley librarian with a college degree invited him to move in, and her life would change forever. It was not long before she started doing drugs and quit her job to follow Manson wherever he went. That's pretty crazy. It sounds a lot like
That's
it sounds a lot like Harley
nicer like this, isn't it?
Alexander says, so he turned a housewife into a hoe. That's,
Did you find anything?
That's pretty good.
I found this coat.
All right.
Looks like a very
Lynette
nice
Fromm
coat.
soon joined Brunner and
That's from a
Manson
man's suit, isn't
in
it?
San Francisco.
Yes.
The trio found
Bruce's.
many young people who were lost and searching for a
Matches
purpose in
his
life.
trousers. So it does.
Manson's
Try
lengthy
it on.
prophecies and hypnotic, coercive songs led to a reputation that he had
Why not?
some sort of sixth sense. He relished this new position as a mentor, and the skills of manipulation he had honed in childhood in prison only fueled his attraction to those who were vulnerable. He and his followers saw Manson as a guru and prophet they would follow him anywhere. In 1968, Manson and several of his followers drove
That's
to
the way
Southern
they're doing it
California.
now. I know.
So this is where
I've got
things start
quite
to
a
turn a
number
little
of
bit.
suits like this at home. Dick's rich, you see.
Pretty much up to now, he's just been a
terribly
druggie, he's
rich.
been in and out of prison, and
You should
but
see
now
all the clothes he's got.
starting to get some people following him, and he's starting to
I don't know where he keeps them all.
speak in prophecies and
I think
things
this
like
coat will
that.
fit you better than me.
So
Do you think
things
so?
are starting
Yes, it's not
to
quite
get
right on me.
John M joins us. How's it going, John? I'm just gonna review the chat real quick. Hey Doc, how's it going? I think I already said that. Hawk as well. Snow Muffin.
Well,
Somebody asked
Maybe I'll
something
try
that I saw pass by. We are brothers and sisters now.
sorry.
Zach Lomby says, Helter Skelter was my first true crime book at 11. I had nightmares until I was 14, and I've loved true crime ever since. Yeah, it's good stuff.
I didn't find any pajamas.
It's
I mean,
true
men's
that
pajamas.
often reality is worse than fiction.
No.
A lot of times.
He must have been sleeping in his underwear.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything happening. So, okay, so we're on to
It's not
the
very
Spawn Ranch.
civilized.
Where things
Very
start to-
hygienic.
start to get weird. Manson was still hoping for a music career. Through an acquaintance, Manson met and hung out with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys even recorded one of Manson's songs, which appeared as Never Learn Not to Love on the B-side of their 2020 album.
Victor.
Through Wilson, Manson met Terry Melcher, Doris Day's son. Manson believed Melcher was going to advance his music
Your
career,
driving license expires
but
next
when
month.
nothing happened, Manson was very upset.
Very much.
Oh, that's hard.
During this time, Charles Manson and some of his followers moved to Spawn Ranch, located northwest of San Fernando Valley in Chatsworth. The ranch had been a popular location to film westerns in the 1940s and 50s. Once Manson and his followers moved in, it became a cult compound for the family. And that's how they were known, was the family. Brunner also gave
Have you
Manson
got any
his
house
third
going for
son,
sale?
Valentine Michael
I mean, one of your
Manson,
better class
was born on
houses.
April
Because,
1st,
Dick's been
1968.
looking for one. Well, he's tired of the penthouse.
Charles Manson was good at manipulating people. He took
He wants a
pieces
real
from
house.
various religions to form his own
Doesn't have to be too
philosophy.
big a house, about,
When the Beatles
8
released their
to
White
10
album in
bedrooms,
1968, and
with
we're going to
one
go
more
through this in
bathroom than there are
detail here in a few
bedrooms.
minutes, Manson believed
Just
their
so long
song
as it's in a
Helter
good
Skelter
class area.
predicted an
And
upcoming
everything all
race war.
electric. I don't like gas.
Yes, Dick's
Helter
allergic
Skelter,
to
Manson
gas.
believed, was going to occur in the summer of 1969, when blacks were going to rise
Have you
up
got
and
any house
slaughter
like that,
all
Bruce?
the
Have you
white
got anything
people.
like that on your books?
He told his
Go to
followers
hell.
that they would be saved because they would travel to an underground city of gold located in Death Valley. However, when the
You can't
Armageddon
do
that
anything
Manson had
with a fella
predicted
like
did
that.
not
It
occur,
gets meaner all
he
the
said
time.
that he and his followers must
Nothing.
show the blacks how to do it. Their first known murder was a
Postage stamps.
music teacher named Gary Hinman on July 25th, 1969. The family staged the scene to look as if the Black Panthers
She's
did
got
it.
quite a few things. But no furs or jewelry.
No furs or jewelry?
No.
Oh, dear, dear.
All right, so
Barbara?
now we're going to start
Bruce,
to get
would you like to be
into
invited to our
his
parties?
beliefs.
Don't be rude.
Miss Willison is happy.
John M says, "Oh God, if only he could see 2018." Isn't he still alive? Or if he did die, he died very recently, right? I'm pretty sure he's still alive, though. I can't believe I'm doing a damn thing about Charles Manson. I never thought to look
you
if he was
happy?
still alive or not. That never occurred to me. Yep, he died November 19, 2017. Okay.
Have another drink.
Yeah, I don't know why the hell I missed that. For some reason, I thought he was still alive. Yeah, died recently.
More?
All right, so Yeah, I got it, guys. I looked it up.
Cigarette.
Thanks. So what the strange thing about this is I couldn't find. So I've got his beliefs on Helter Skelter and the White Album and all that stuff down. Right, we're going to go through all that stuff very, very extensively here in the next few minutes. What I couldn't find is all the stuff he talked about before the White Album. So you hear about them talking about prophecies and hypnotic stuff, but I couldn't find anything about any of that. Nothing that he talked about prior to the White Album and Helter Skelter. If anybody happens to be listening to this and has like a link they can send me to the stuff that he talked about and the stuff that he talked about and prophesized about before Helter Skelter, I would be very interested in reading that, and I would love to share that with the viewers.
Music, I think.
So, anyway, let's go ahead and get into his beliefs. So, Manson had been predicting racial war for some time before he used the term Helter Skelter. His first use of the term was at a gathering of the family on New Year's 1968. This took place at the family's base at Myers Ranch, near California's Death Valley. In its final form, which was reached by mid-February 1969, the scenario had Manson as not only the war's ultimate beneficiary, but its musical cause. He and the family would create an album with songs whose messages concerning the war would be as subtle as those he had heard in songs of the Beatles, more than merely foretell the conflict. This would trick
There was a craze once for
for
keeping
in
baby
instructing
alligators
the
as
young
pets.
love, America's white youth,
The
to
pet
join the
shops in the
family.
roaring trade.
It would draw the young white female
They were
hippies out of
imported in
San Francisco's
thousands.
Hyde
Little baby
Ashbury.
alligators. Just hatched out.
Black men, thus deprived of the white women
Just
whom
like
the
lizards.
political changes of the 1960s
big
had
heads.
made sexually available to them, would be without an outlet for their
playful.
frustrations and would lash out in
Cute.
violent crimes against whites.
Cuddly.
So just to kind of reiterate that
course,
real quick,
the ones that
basically
survived
he
soon
was going
began
to put
to grow
out an
bigger.
album that was so good,
And become rather
all the white
awkward to
women
handle.
would leave
Rather on the
Hyde
ropes.
Ashbury in San Francisco and
Not
come
quite
join
so
him
cute,
on the
cuddly.
ranch, which would send
In
the
fact,
black men into
a
a
nuisance
murderous
stab around the
rampage.
house.
That was the plan.
Breaking
A
things.
resultant
snapping
murderous
big
rampage
business
against
all
blacks
over
by
the
frightened
place.
whites would then be
Suddenly there were
exploited by
hundreds of them that
militant
nobody knew
blacks
what to do
to
with.
provoke an
The pet shops didn't want them back
internecine
again.
war of near extermination between racist
Lots
and
of those little
non-racist whites
alligators
over
ended up
blacks'
in the
treatment.
dustbins.
Then the
with their heads
militant
chopped
blacks
off.
would arise to sneakily finish off the few
Others.
whites they would know to have
Lucky
survived.
ones.
Indeed, they would kill
Ended
off
up in the
all
local zoo.
non-blacks. In this Holocaust, the members of the enlarged family would have little to fear. They would wait out the war in a secret city that was underneath Death Valley that they would reach through a hole in the ground. As the only
You see,
actual
people
remaining
discovered
whites
there was one
upon the
extremely
race war's
simple way of getting
conclusion,
rid of a little
they would
alligator, so long
emerge
as it
from
didn't let him grow too
underground
big.
to rule the now
You just dropped him
satisfied
down
blacks,
the toilet and pulled
who,
the
as the
flush.
vision went, would be
That's
incapable of running the
Drop
world.
him in head first.
At that
plop,
point,
down he
Manson
goes.
would scratch the
Just
black
like you do
man's
every
fuzzy
day.
head and kick him in the butt and tell
He's
him to
gone.
go pick the cotton and be a good
He's
nigger.
out of sight.
That's a quote from Charles Manson himself.
Vanished. He's out of your house.
The term Helter Skelter was
don't
from the
have to
Beatles
think
song
about
of that
him.
name, which referred to the British amusement park ride of that name, but was interpreted by Manson as concerned with the war. The song was on the Beatles' White Album,
just vanished
first
again.
heard by Manson within a month or so of
Where
its
are
November
you?
1968 release. Former
in
Manson
a
follower
pipe,
Catherine Scher, in a
being carried along
2009
by some
documentary,
water.
called Manson
Pretty soon that water stops and you're
called
stuck
Manson
in that pipe.
for Sinflix Productions.
You try to
She
crawl
claims,
along.
Catherine Scher claims,
It's very
When the
tight, there's
Beatles'
not
White
much air.
Album came out, Charlie listened
After
to
a
it
while,
over and
maybe
over
hours,
and
some
over
more
and
water
over
comes
again.
down
He
and
was
washes
quite
you further
certain
along.
that the Beatles had tapped into his
After
spirit,
more hours,
the truth, that
maybe
everything
days,
was going to come down,
you're
and the
washed
black
out of
man
that
was
pipe and
going
dumped
to
into a
rise.
larger one,
It
like a
wasn't that
tunnel,
Charlie listened to the White Album
where there is
and
much
started
more
following
water
what he thought the Beatles
and
were
mess.
saying. It was the
and where
other
the
way
movement
around.
is faster. You're carried along.
He thought that the Beatles were
swirling,
talking about
floundering,
what he had been
gasping.
expounding
But since
for
you're an
years.
alligator, you swim
Every
pretty
single
well.
song on the
And then
White Album,
suddenly, one day,
he felt that they were
splosh,
singing about us. The song
you're
Helter
gushed
Skelter,
out
he was
into a
interpreting
great
that to
black
mean the
lake
blacks were going to go
of
up
slime.
and the whites were going to go down. Joe Malstaxon
Very dark
says
down there
Charles
in the
Manson would
sewer.
really fit in on 4chan in the current year.
Very quiet.
Yeah, he would fit in pretty well with the left too, I think, though.
You swim around,
In some ways,
desperately,
anyway.
trying to find
You
something to
noticed
get
this
your feet
thing
onto,
Rise,
because
the
after
black
all,
man was going
you
to
are not
Rise. Wasn't there a big thing a couple years
a
ago?
fish.
I think it was a TV show or
Perhaps you never do
some
find
social
anything to
media
get your feet
campaign
onto
that
and
was
you
called
eventually
Rise.
drown.
It just
Or
reminded
perhaps
me
you
of that.
die of asphyxiation. Or perhaps you
Go on,
just...
Reddit. In the months
gradually
before the
starve to
murders
death.
were
But
conceived,
perhaps-
Manson and his followers began
perhaps
preparing for
you
Helter
do
Skelter,
find a
which they thought inevitable.
You find a resting
I just want to
place,
point
a
out,
breathing
I'm
space.
90% sure he'd have a YouTube channel. Just
Your
saying.
eyes grow attuned
In
to
addition
the
to working on
darkness.
songs for the
And perhaps in that particular
hoped
sewer,
for album, which would set off everything, they prepared vehicles and other items for their escape from Los Angeles area,
And you
their home
are
territory, to Death Valley when the days of violence would arrive.
chase,
They pored
catch,
over maps
and
to plot a
eat.
route that would bypass highways
and
and get them
vermin
to the
and
desert
dung
safely.
You
Indeed,
even eat some of
Manson
what you
was
are floating
convinced
around
that the
in.
song Helter Skelter contained a coded statement
You exist.
of the route that they should follow.
You survive. You live. You grow.
Manson had said the war
know
would
your way
start
around
in the
down
summer of
there.
1969.
You know where the rats
In
are.
late June of that year,
You
months
know where the
after
resting places
he had been
are.
frustrated in his efforts to get the album made,
You grow
he told a
bigger
male
and
family
bigger
member
and
that
bigger.
Helter Skelter
And perhaps one
was
day you
ready to
become a
happen.
full-sized alligator.
Blackie never did anything without Whitey showing him how.
Can you
he
imagine
said.
the surprise?
It looks like we're going to
of
have
the
to show
first government
Blackie how to
sewage
do it.
inspector that went down there one day and came face to face with a monster alligator. Huh.
Now, from what I can find, other
That
than
man
his
faster than
being
he never run
influenced
before
by
in his life.
Scientology and the Process Church of the
Man's
Final
never been seen
Judgment,
again.
we can point to the Beatles' White Album
In
as
some cities,
being not necessarily
they have to
influence
organise
on his
teams
beliefs, but more of a
of
confirmation
experts
of
to go
beliefs that he
down
already
into
had.
those
In
cities,
some cases, it was
research
confirmation. In
guns
other
and
cases, he
rifles
was
and machine
inspired,
guns
and he pulled information
to hunt
from
those
the song.
alligators and kill them. And they did.
We need to understand both the White Album and Revelations 9 to understand where Charlie was coming from. Obviously, these aren't
Baby
completely
alligators
sane
are no
or
longer
even
permitted
necessarily
to be
coherent
imported as
connections,
pets.
but I
It's
will
not
point
surprising.
something out here that I mentioned on Twitter earlier today.
But
It's really interesting to me how Helter Skelter is considered
your
one of the
life
first heavy metal rock
you
songs
find
of all
yourself
time.
down in a sewer and
And
you come face
you
to
can see
face with
this
an
all over the
alligator
place. People
who
often
blinks at you
credit
from
the
the
song,
bog,
or that album
who
in
hates you with all his
particular, but this
might,
song, as being
who
one of the
opens
first
his
heavy metal
huge jaws
songs
to
of all
take you
time.
in.
So heavy metal has always been linked with the occult
That's
and worship
amazing.
of the devil, but it also inspired Manson to go out
Cannot blame
and
that alligator.
commit these murders. Now he had the idea in his head anyway, but this like egged him on. So there seems to be something about that song, something that speaks to the darker side of psychedelics. And yet it's a song about a guy going down on a slide towards his girlfriend. I guess the words Helter Skelter sound kind of witchy, and I can see why it is such a popular song, because as Dick McBaster pointed out, it's a good song. But whatever it is that is speaking to the darker side of things, we're not really seeing this. Anyway, we're going to examine the lyrics and what Charlie thought they meant. But first, let's go into Revelation 9. Why or how Charlie linked this to Revelations 9, we don't know. And Revelations now is where a lot of the stuff that people know about Revelations comes from. I was well aware of this book. I was very familiar with what I was talking about well before as he draws comparisons from the first two. So we'll review that first. Revelations Revolution is what is called a sound crash. It's a term that wasn't used prior to today. It's just a mix of sounds from various places, supposedly it's supposed to replicate what John was doing. I can't relate here for obvious reasons, but I did and I am going to read Revelations 9 to you. Before I do that, Journalist actually says, just FYI, British call the slide a the song title is Slide. I thought, okay, it's good. I thought his, I thought he was okay, so let's go Revolutions. So the fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss, and out of the smoke, locusts came down on the earth and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They were not allowed to kill them, but only to torture them for 5 months, and the agony they suffered was like that of the sting of a scorpion when it strikes. During those days, people will seek death but will not find it.
To the
They
music.
will long to die, but death will elude
Tom's
them.
quiet. He's always very quiet.
The locusts looked like horses prepared for battle.
Music.
On their heads they wore something like crowns of gold, and their faces resembled human faces. The hair was like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the thundering of many horses and chariots rushing into battle. They had tails with stingers like scorpions, and in their tails they had power to torment people for 5 months. They had as a king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek it's Apollyon, that is, destroyer.
Just slightly.
By the way, why don't we hear about Apollyon more often? That guy sounds like a badass. Anyway. The first woe is past. 2 other woes are yet to come. The 6th angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice coming from the 4 horns of the golden altar that is before God. It said to the 6th angel who had a trumpet, release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind.
I don't think
the number of mounted troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. I heard their number. The horses and riders I saw in my vision looked like this. Their breastplates were fiery red, dark blue, and yellow as sulfur. The heads of the horses resembled the heads of lions, and out of their mouths came fire, smoke, and sulfur. 1/3 of mankind was killed by the 3 plagues of fire, smoke, and sulfur that came out of their mouths. The power of the horses was in their mouths and in their tails, for their tails were like snakes, having heads with which they inflict injury.
I bet he takes everything he
The
wants
rest
for
of
himself.
mankind who were not killed by these plagues still did not repent of the
Oh,
work
no,
of their
he's very
hands.
generous.
They did not stop worshiping
He gives me
demons
anything
and
that I
idols of
want.
gold,
I
silver,
believe it.
bronze, stone, and wood.
I
Idols
think
that
he just
cannot
uses
see or
you.
hear or walk. Nor did they repent of their murders, their magic arts, their sexual
I wanted to talk to you
immorality,
about something.
or their thefts.
About something I saw in your wallet.
So that is the end
I
of
didn't mention it at the
Revelations
time.
9.
I didn't want to cause any...
Now, other than tying into Helter Skelter,
embarrassment.
the significance is that Manson
was that?
hears machine gun fire,
photo.
and we're talking about in Revolution 9 here.
A photo of two little
So
girls.
in Revolution 9,
Well,
Manson hears machine gun fire,
Well?
the oinking of pigs, and the word
whose little
rise.
girls are they?
The piece
They're
is
mine.
audio representation
Miss
of the
Willis.
coming
No.
conflict.
You mean you're
The
married to
repeated
somebody
utterance
else
number
and you're with
9
Miss Willis?
is
It's none of your
reference to
business.
chapter 9 of the book of Revelations, which is what I just read to you. Revolution 9 is prophecy, paralleling
That doesn't
Revelation
seem
9.
very nice.
Revolution 9
That doesn't
equals
seem very-
Revelation 9 in Manson's mind, of course.
Very harmonious.
Oh, go to hell.
Rise is one of Manson's big words.
Why?
The black man is going
Two
to
lovely
rise
children
up against the
and
white
Miss
man.
Willis.
While playing Revolution 9, Manson
And you
screams,
wish I
rise,
had-
rise, rise. From 2 minutes 33 seconds to 2 minutes 50 seconds, the recording, a voice that could be that of John Lennon does,
Have a piece of
in
salami.
fact, repeat what
No.
is possibly the word right, not rise. About 25 seconds before that word is first heard, a voice says something that seems to include the words, lots of stab wounds. But Vincent and Gentry, who mentioned this in Helter Skelter, which is a book, do not indicate whether Manson or any of the family members heard it. Manson also hears the Beatles whispering, Charlie, Charlie, send us a telegram. At approximately 3 minutes 45 seconds of the recording, a voice that could be that of George Harrison does, in fact, seem to be saying something about a telegram. Alright, so we went through the book of Revelations. I explained to you how Revolution 9, how he sees that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see how Charlie Manson interprets the book of Revelations, chapter 9. Well, we're starting with chapter 7, actually, because that's part of it, but the big part's chapter 9. So, chapter 7, verse 4, said, And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of Israel. So 144,000 would be the membership of the family when in Helter Skelter's aftermath. It would emerge from the bottomless pit to rule. It would be our world then. There would be no one else except for us and the black servants. That's coming from Charles Manson, of course. It is difficult to determine how the family's numbers was to grow to 144,000. In his autobiography, Charles Watson seems to think, with incredulity, that the growth was somehow simply to be a result of procreation. The trial testimony of Paul Watkins, on the other hand, seems to indicate the increase was to result from the release of the family's album, which would draw the young love to their group. The family would also acquire rescue babies made homeless in Helter Skelter. Several decades would pass before the family would at last depart from the bottomless pit. The group would live there in a miniaturized form. All right, so that's from chapter 7, verse 4, and how he thinks, that's going to work out. So now we're into Revelations chapter 9, which is the part we were talking about mainly. So first, verses 2 through 3 say, And he opened the bottomless pit, and there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. Now in this, locusts equal beetles, and by beetles I mean the singers. As the scorpions of the earth have power, the power of Scorpion, that is Manson, a Scorpio, will prevail. So, yeah. Bottomless pit. So the bottomless pit that you heard there is the underground city in which the family will ride out Helter Skelter. Now, keep in mind, when I'm saying Helter Skelter, what I'm really saying is race war. Just remember that. The family would be lowered into this by means of a gold rope. Accordingly, Manson bought expensive gold rope at a Santa Monica sporting goods store.
Not be to the door of your office.
I mean, he was really into this. He went so far as to buy gold rope.
Not be to the front door where you live.
How the serial killer says, always knew us Scorpios were superior. Yep, I'll do it. Verses 7 through 8.
Which is it?
And the locusts' faces were as faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women. So the Beatles are men with long hair, of course. Verse 17. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. So the breastplates here, the breastplates of fire, are the Beatles' electric guitars.
Finding out things too. It's my best point. I bet a
Fire
lot of
and smoke
experience.
and brimstone
I can find
out
out
of their
almost
mouths.
anything.
This is the Beatles' powerful lyrics, the power of their music to ignite Helter Skelter. Verse 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. So things that are shaped like unto horses prepared unto battle. These were the dune buggies the family would be riding during Helter Skelter. Now, in Manson's view, dune buggies were the idea vehicles of the apocalypse. They would enable the family to outrun police in the bottomless pit, and were light enough that a few of the girls could carry them. During the war, the family would be making forays from the bottomless pit. Accordingly, the dune buggies the family acquired, licitly and otherwise, were fitted on Manson's inspiration with machine gun mounts. While the men would drive, the girls would operate the guns. Fitted next to the steering wheel of Manson's personal buggy was a metal scabbard. It held a sword with which, in July 1969, Manson slashed the ear of a family acquaintance, Gary Heineman. And don't forget that Gary Heineman was their first person they killed. On the buggy's front was a winch that Manson envisioned using to evade police. Apparently, in Helter Skelter, he would fling the winch's rope up onto a tree and then winch himself up out of sight as pursuing officers would drive haplessly by. That sounds like something out of a cartoon. Not something that a grown man thinks would actually happen, but there it is.
Why'd you have to?
In an article published in Los Angeles Magazine in July 2009, as the 40th anniversary of the Tate LaBianca murders approached, former Manson associate Catherine Scher was quoted as follows: "Charlie talked about Helter Skelter every night. We'd learn to live off the land. We'd live in the desert and come in on dune buggies and rescue the orphaned white babies. We'd be the saviors." Which is pretty crazy. Verse 15 from Revelations chapter 9. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. So here, the four angels are the Beatles, prophets who are preparing the way for Jesus Christ, Manson to lead the chosen people away to safety. Slay the third part of men is destroy the white race. That is, it would seem, one of the three races. So verse 16 of Revelations chapter 9, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. So 200,000 horsemen. These were the motorcycle gang members Manson was attempting to recruit into the family in advance of Helter Skelter. The motorcyclists whose attention Manson began cultivating when the family moved to the Yellow Submarine were to be the family's needed military wing. So they were the army. They and the family would cruise through Helter Skelter in the manner of a flock of birds, all turning in one direction or another without even a sound from their leader. If the cyclists were to be worthy of surviving Helter Skelter alongside the family, it was, of course, necessary they attain the family's level of hippie enlightenment. Toward this end, Manson unleashed his girls as seductresses to wean the gang members from predisposition to marriage, as well as materialism and concern with time of day. Apparently, Charles Manson is not a fan of wristwatches.
Yes.
And I mean that, that's not just a joke.
Yes.
With a passing exception or two, the cyclists remain bourgeois.
Yes.
What have you got? Anything of value?
No, not much.
Well, nothing at all?
No.
Well, that's not much help, is it?
Alright. So, verse 4. And it was commanded that the locusts should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Now I just want to remind everybody that Charles Manson and his followers that were caught all put stuff on their foreheads, and eventually that would become a crucifix, or not a crucifix, swastika, but apparently that's the seal of God. So not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing nor any tree. That is, only humans, not nature, will be destroyed in Helter Skelter. So they weren't planning on, a bunch of bombs dropping or anything like that. Seal of God in their foreheads is a mark that would indicate whether someone was on Manson's side or not in Helter Skelter. Those without it would perish. Manson never described the mark, but he left no doubt that he would be able to recognize it. And again, keep in mind, he had the swastika there for a very, very long time. Yeah, Dick McBastard says it was a cross, then it turned into a swastika, absolutely. I was thinking an X, because it was kind of, it's a little sideways, I think. I don't think it was perfectly straight up and down. But I could be wrong about that. It might have been a perfect cross. It just looked weird, I know that. It kind of looked like they all had X's on their forehead a little bit.
You've had our eye on Barbara for some time.
Anyway, verse 20.
Bastards.
And the rest of the men who were not killed by the repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. So worship of idols of gold and silver and brass, this is the establishment's worship of automobiles, houses, and money. Verse 1. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. So the fifth angel, according to Greg Jacobson, who arranged a recording session for Manson, Stu Sutcliffe, one of the original 5, not 4, Beatles, according to family members such as Tex and Paul Watkins Manson. Something's missing right there.
Bruce has been telling me about his home.
Yes. And his
Yeah, I don't know.
And his two.
Well, I don't know who the fifth angel is. That's what we're missing
Have
right
you
there.
got the address?
Yes.
Anyway, we'll move on. Joe Molstax says, You ever tried carving anything into your forehead with a sharpened toothbrush and a foggy as fuck prison mirror? Give him credit, he managed to get it even close to a square. Yeah, that's a good point. What's up, Fifth? Glad you can make it. Hey, Azalea Rosen. Made it. Glad you can make it out too. Yeah, I modded you last week.
Says he hasn't got much.
Anyway, all right. Chapter 10, verses 1 and 2.
What jewelry, Bruce?
Now I didn't read chapter
Let's start
7
with
and
that.
chapter 10 to you
You
guys,
got me
but
jewelry, you got it.
we got the important bits here. Verses 1 and 2. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud and a rainbow upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire, and he had on his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot upon the
How
earth.
about gold medals, please? You
For
haven't
about
got any
2 weeks
No.
after their
Silver
departure
medals,
from
maybe.
the
Painting,
Yellow
pictures,
Submarine,
No.
family
Valuable
members
collections,
moved
first
into
editions,
or broke
stamps.
into
Porcelain,
an
old
unoccupied
well,
mansion
yes,
that
yes.
had recently
Some
been
stamps.
vacated
Stamps.
by the
I knew
rock
it. He's a stamp
iron
collector.
butterfly.
Got a good collection, Bruce. Is it valuable?
No, I don't know.
You don't know!
I don't know what it's worth.
How long have you had it?
Since I was a boy.
Must be quite
Overlooking
an
the
old
sea
collection.
from
How about
Mulholland
stamps,
Hills, the
antiques?
house met Manson's
All right,
demand
then
that
equipment.
the family have
Typewriters,
access
tape
to the
recorders,
sea
radios, television
and
sets,
to the
binoculars, field
desert
glasses,
and the
cameras,
two-room
photographic equipment.
coin.
No.
All right, then kitchen
So I'm guessing,
appliances.
he's
New refrigerator,
looking
gas
at chapter
cooker.
No, not new.
Or electric.
No.
Vacuum cleaner, mixer.
trying to get that
No.
to match
Washing
up.
machine. Sewing machine.
With
Carpets
the
and
help
rugs.
of
China and glassware.
$300 for topographic maps,
Linen,
the
draperies,
family laid
garden
out
furniture.
complete and
Bruce.
continuous
That's a
helter-skelter
gift.
escape
Gents
route
leather,
that
baby's leather,
ran from
hardware,
Malibu
software,
Beach,
rainwear. Bruce,
near
Going
his
up,
iron
millinery
butterfly
ladies'
mansion,
lingerie. Going
past
down,
the
gents'
family
lingerie.
headquarters
I meant
on the ranch,
haberdashery. Got any valuable
and to
haberdashery?
Boulder Wash,
Bruce,
site of the family's desert home. From Spawn Manson, peering toward the heart of Los Angeles, really could have his right foot upon toward the sea and his left foot upon the earth. It was even rumored that Manson and family members stole and maybe ruined a half-track supposedly used to clear a spawn area portion of the route. The escape route was marked with locations for supply caches, command posts, campsites. The family's topographic maps were found buried in Death Valley.
Do you see what I see?
And now Inagata Devita is playing in my head. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Brad Young says, so they really thought it out. Yeah, they really thought it out, man. It's crazy stuff. So chapter 16, verses 14 and 16. For they were the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto kings of the earth and the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. And he gathered them together into a space called, in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. So, in his autobiography, Watson seems to indicate that Manson spoke of Helter Skelter as Armageddon, a term that has come to stand for apocalyptic war. And then in Helter Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders, Vincent, which was his prosecutor, seems to confirm this. Chapter 21, verses 10 and 18. And an angel carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. So with verse 21, and the 12 gates were 12 pearls, every several gate was of one pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. And then in verse 23, and the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is light thereof.
You know, I was just telling Bruce
so the
here.
family's Helter-Skelter sanctuary under Death Valley would be a city of gold where there would be no sun and no moon.
I've just been telling him how we were going to have to take care of you both.
Yeah, so
Do you know what he
Doc
said?
says Manson was kind of a doomsday prepper.
Do you know what?
Yeah, except in his case, he was
He said-
also trying to start doomsday. So there's that. Chapter 22, verse 2. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. So the city underneath Death Valley, would have a tree that would bear 12 different kinds of fruit, a different kind each month. The city was also expected to have chocolate fountains, but in that detail, it seems to have departed from the biblical scheme.
It's very tricky. You don't know how tricky he is.
So to Manson, the synthesis of the Beatles and the Bible was not to be questioned. And here's a quote from Manson. Look at the Beatles songs. Songs sung all over the world by the young love. It ain't nothing new. It's written in Revelation. All about the four angels programming the Holocaust. The four angels looking for the fifth angel to lead the people into the pit of fire. Right out to Death Valley. It's all in black and white. In the White Album, white. So there ain't no mistake in the color. So that was a quote from Manson.
Why us, for God's sake?
So now let's go through
don't even
the
know us.
lyrics from the White Album. There's like a couple of lyrics from each song, and then the meaning to Manson of what those lyrics.
Equal? How the hell, Joe?
So one of the songs is "I Will." The lyric is, "And when at last I find you, your song will fill the air. Sing it loud so I can hear you. Make it easy to be near you." And the meaning of that is the Beatles are looking for Jesus Christ. Of course, again, keep in mind, this is all according to Manson.
Better than going to the dentist.
Yes, quick. It really will be.
Honey Pie, the lyric is, "Oh, honey pie, my position is tragic. Come and show me the magic of our Hollywood song." Now, the meaning of that lyric, according to Manson, is the Beatles know Jesus Christ has returned to Earth and is in Los Angeles. They want Manson to create his song. That is his album that will set off Helter Skelter. So he literally believes, oh, honey pie, my position is tragic. Come and show me the magic of your Hollywood song. Is the Beatles telling him that he needs to put out his album, that Jesus wants him to put out his album so Helter Skelter can start? That's insane. Alright, next lyric. "Oh, honey pie, you are driving me frantic. Sail across the Atlantic to be where you belong." Now the meaning to that, the Beatles want Jesus Christ to come to England. Consequence. Now, in early 1969, Manson and his female followers did attempt to contact the Beatles by letter, telegram, and telephone. They were struggling to make clear to the Beatles that it is they, the Beatles, who are to come across the Atlantic to join the family in Death Valley. They're literally trying to convince the Beatles to leave England and join them in Death Valley, based on this lyric that the Beatles wrote. Next lyric from Honey Pie: "I'm in love, but I'm lazy." The meaning of this: the Beatles love Jesus Christ, but are too lazy to go looking for him.
That looks like your
They've
parcel.
worn themselves
It
out
is my
in a
parcel.
trip to India
What have you
to
brought that up here
visit
for?
some guy named Yogi, whom they now regard as a false prophet.
Would you mind standing up?
They took all of that from the words, "I'm in love, but I'm lazy." Joan Wall says, "If Jesus ever comes back to Earth, I guarantee the only reason he'll set foot in Los Angeles is to burn it to the ground to get rid of the airborne grids."
You know, Richard, there are times when I don't understand you at all.
Yes, Thomas. I can understand that.
Did you see Harry?
Oh, yes.
Well, where is he?
She's in the car.
What's he doing in the
Celia
car?
Rose said something interesting here. That's what I was reading. A part of me wonders if he really believed it, but he and his female followers do seem to have a strong family connection to the military and IC. I really think he was in MK Ultra. It's possible. That's what was going on back then. Alright, "Don't Pass Me By" is the name of this next song. The lyric is, I listen for your footsteps coming up the drive, listen for your footsteps, but they don't arrive, waiting for your knock, dear, on my old front door. I don't hear it, does it mean you don't love me anymore? I hear the clock a-ticking on the mantel shelf, see the hands a-moving, but I'm by myself. I wonder where you are tonight and why I'm by myself. I don't see you. Does it mean you don't love me anymore? And the meaning of that is the Beatles are calling for Jesus Christ.
Tom, when you were in the kitchen,
Yes?
did you check the meter?
Yes,
Your
Dick, I did.
Blues
Did you
is
take
the
a
name of the
reading?
next song. Lyric
No, I
is,
didn't have my pipe.
yes, I'm lonely, wanna die. Yes, I'm lonely, wanna die. If I ain't dead already, girl, you know the reason why. And again, the meaning is the Beatles are calling for
Barbara,
Jesus
quickly.
Christ.
Come on, Timmy.
They're not coming back.
Blue Jay Way.
Yeah, you heard what they say.
That's the name of the song. The lyric
Come on,
is,
get me out of
there's a
here.
fog upon L.A., and my friends have lost their
I think
way.
they've gone.
They'll be over soon, they said.
Barbara,
Now they've
come
lost
on.
themselves
For
instead.
God's sake, get me
Please
out of
don't be
here!
long. Please don't you be very long, or I may
know
be
they've
asleep.
gone.
Now the meaning of that is the Beatles are calling for Jesus Christ. And this also connects the Helter Skelter prophecy with a song from outside the Beatles. Blue Jay Way appeared on Magical Mystery Tour, the 1967 album that preceded the Beatles and that had itself influenced Manson. The family had come to call its roundabout journey from its place of origin, San Francisco, to its place of settlement, the Los Angeles area, the Magical Mystery Tour. Joe Moll says, Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was a victim of MKUltra, so I honestly wouldn't put it out of the realm of fiction. Yeah, I don't put it out of the realm of fiction at all. There's a lot of weird shit going on in the 70s with MKUltra and all kinds of other weird stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me. And just to throw this out there too, don't forget from last week, Manson was at parties with the Process Church, and Sirhan, the guy that killed Robert Kennedy, was at those same parties. And some people believe that Manson did these murders because the Process Church shaped, what's her name, Tate, overheard their plans. So that's another conspiracy theory that's out there. Anyway, the primary sources of information on Helter Skelter do not detail Manson's interpretation of the lyrics of the song. If the friends are imagined to be the Beatles looking for Manson in Los Angeles, the lyrics retain their ordinary sense, in which someone is trying to get a place in LA, not out of it. If, on the other hand, the friends are the family, who, because of the fog upon LA, have lost their way to the Beatles in England, the interpretation would seem to be consistent with Manson's view that the lyrics are a call to him, please don't you be very long, and that the Beatles want him to sail across the Atlantic. So, next one, Sexy Sadie. This one's interesting. So the significance here is Manson had renamed family member Susan Atkins Sadie Mae Glutz long before the release of the Beatles. This served to reinforce the mental connection Manson felt he had with the Beatles. In San Francisco, where she met Manson, Atkins had been a topless dancer. Paul Watkins wrote that Atkins thrived on sex, and he even seemed to suggest she had the nickname Sexy Sadie before the family heard the song. Similarly, Tex Watson wrote that the words of Sexy Sadie fit Atkins so well that it made us all sure the Beatles had to be singing directly to us. Watson specifically noted that the song's title character came along to turn on everyone, broke the rules, laid it down for all to see. Atkins, he said, had broken all the rules sexually and liked to talk about her experiences and lack of inhibitions. Joe Mall says, also IIRC, there was never an actual list of test subjects for MK Ultra, so there could theoretically still be some geriatric
I
nut
merely wish
jobs
to
out
return
there
these
just
things.
waiting
Good
for
afternoon,
the
Miss
ship.
Wilson. This is your coat,
Yeah, there probably
I think,
could be.
and these are yours.
We should do a show about MK Ultra
Your
one night.
keys.
It's good stuff.
I believe that is the correct amount of money.
Next song is Rocky Raccoon. So
Who are you?
the significance here, Rocky Raccoon means coon,
Yes, I told you
of
the
course, which is a vulgar term.
I thought you
black
said
man.
Harold.
Of all
Miss
the
Harold.
Beatles songs known to have been
No,
connected
you
with
must
Helter
have songs.
Skelter, this is the only one that actually
I don't
mentions the
believe
Bible.
anything.
It is possibly the only Beatles song at all that mentions the
I
Bible.
deeply regret what transpired here today.
A play on the
Don't think it does
Gideon's
any good coming
international
round here
practice
returning these
of
things saying
leaving
you're
Bibles
sorry.
in
What the
hotel
hell good
rooms.
does that do?
The references are to a Bible that's left in a room by the title character of Gideon. So one day, Rocky Raccoon walked into town, booked himself a room in the local
But you're
saloon.
one of them.
Rocky Raccoon checked into his room only to
You were
find
waiting
Gideon's Bible.
downstairs.
Now Rocky
They told us all
Raccoon
about you.
fell in his
Harry's
room
waiting
only
downstairs,
to
they say,
find
just in
Gideon's
case.
Bible.
But I am here.
Gideon checked out
But I
and he
wasn't
left it,
waiting
no doubt,
downstairs.
to help with good
No, I've
Rocky's
just
revival.
Them and they told me what happened.
That's the lyrics from the song, obviously.
Do you mind if I sit down? I'm glad to get a little
Manson
dip
made the
instead.
connection. In the
Oh,
period
look,
before
Ben,
his trial,
we have to be
he was
leaving
visited
this
at the
shortly.
Los Angeles County Jail
I'll
by
go in a
David
minute.
Dalton and David Felton, who were
But there's
preparing a
something
Rolling
important
Stone
I must
story about
ask.
him that appeared in the magazine in June 1970. In an article in the October 1998 issue
Where are
of the
they now?
periodical
In jail?
Gadfly,
In jail, no.
yep, I am mentioned
But
in
they're
this,
on their way.
Dalton, recounting the visit to
And they're
Manson,
parole officers,
relayed
they're
the
on
remarks
parole.
Manson made
They're
to
supposed to
Felton
report to me every day.
and
Sometimes I
him
have to go
about
looking for
Rocky
them.
Raccoon.
Oh, it's fine.
Coon, said Charlie.
After this, it's
You
all
know
over
that's a
for
word
them.
they use for
Of
black
course, it's a great
people.
disappointment.
You know the
to me.
line,
The
Gideon checked
psychiatrist
out
let
and
me
left
down
no
again.
doubt to help
They gave me a favorable
good
report,
Rocky's
so I judged them
revival.
safe for this trial
Rocky's
period.
revival.
I recommended
revival.
them for this parole.
It means coming back to
The long and the
life.
short of it is
The
it
black
was
man
painful
is
for me.
going to
Very
come
sad
to power
failure, the worst
again.
they've ever had.
Gideon
I'm a
checks
good
out
judge of men,
means
always
that,
have been.
that
That's my
it's
vocation,
all
that's my
written
call.
out there in the New Testament, in the book of
There's
Revelations.
nothing on it.
So that's how he's tying all this stuff
Friends
together
have let
right
me
there.
down again.
Uh,
Now then,
So,
about the police. Presumably
interesting-
you've given the police a full
interesting
report?
quote.
You've given them all the details?
Happiness is a warm gun. is
Yes,
the next
of
song.
course.
Of course.
Well,
Um,
it's...
Well, the phone was pulled out.
Azalea Rosett says, huh?
It was...
Was
But
that
we certainly do intend
was that
to
confusing?
tell the whole matter to the law.
Haven't you got in touch with the police?
In touch with the
I'll give you
police?
a second
No, I
to,
haven't been in touch with them yet.
Respond.
You see,
I
I've
can
only just
reread
heard.
that or
I surmise the
go
police
over
will be
if that was
contacting me.
confusing the way that was written.
Now, I was wondering about that coat.
Take a sip from it.
Yes, the fur coat.
Oh, the coat. I'd forgotten about it.
You forgot about the coat.
Yes,
Well, the time they left, Miss Wilson was very upset.
All right.
I mean, I'll give it back to the police. I certainly don't want to die.
No, of course not. It is indubitably stolen.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well,
All right. Happiness
that's
is a
all.
warm gun. So significance. The Beatles are telling
it so
blacks
late?
to get
I
guns
make it
and
half
fight
past.
whites.
yes, I make it hot past.
Half past
A
what do
lyric
you
from
make
that
it?
song is, "When I
Half
hold
past
you
five.
in my arms and I
Ah,
feel my
half
finger
past
on your
five.
trigger,
I
I
only have
know
a big
no
hand
one
on
can
this
do
watch.
me no harm.
The little hand
This
came
happiness
off.
is a
It
warm
disappeared
gun.
one day.
Bang,
What
bang.
was it you wanted to ask us?
I wanted to ask you a very great favor.
Now, while in
I
Death
wanted to
Valley
ask you
area,
to see
after the New Year's Eve gathering at which Manson announced Helter Skelter, the family played
See them
over
where?
and over
Well, here, I have them
the
downstairs.
White Album's 5
Downstairs?
following
Oh,
songs.
please, don't be
So
alarmed.
these next
They
5
are
songs
on
are
the guard, and
presumably
they are
the
handcuffed.
most important ones.
You see, the long and the short of it is that they're very ashamed for what they've done. They're penitent.
Blackbird.
They badly want to see you
so
to apologize
a
to
lyric
you.
from Blackbird.
They requested
Blackbird
It's
singing
out of the
in the
question.
dead
We
of
wouldn't
night,
dream of
take
seeing
these
them.
broken wings and
Wouldn't
learn to
dream.
fly all your life.
I would have
were
thought you
only
might easily
waiting for
dream
this
of seeing
moment to arise.
I mean,
So the
Just-
meaning there is the black man is going
point.
to arise and overthrow the
Absolutely
white
not.
man. The
As
Beatles
soon as they
are
cut it off to
programmed
jail or wherever they're
to
going, the better.
rise.
yes, that
In
is their
detailing
destination.
Helter
As
Skelter
soon
in
as we
his
leave.
autobiography,
I warned them
Tex
that you wouldn't
Watson
want to see them, but
invoked
they thought
this
there
lyric
might be a
obliquely.
chance. Do you think
the
you could
white
possibly see
establishment
them?
would slaughter
I mean, just
thousands
for a
of blacks,
It would
but
mean a great
actually
deal
only
to
managed to
them.
eliminate
Might be
all
glad
the
you
Uncle
did.
Toms.
You might, don't
Since the true black race,
I have absolutely
sometimes
no
Charlie thought
interest
they
in
were
seeing
the
them
Black
or in
Masons,
getting an apology.
sometimes the Panthers, they would have stayed hidden waiting for their moment.
Besides, Barbara, I mean, well, I leave it up to you.
So we're into Helter Skelter now, the song. So the first lyric is, when I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide, where I stop and I turn and I go for a ride.
But it's got to be quick. Only for a
So
minute.
the significance here, a
certainly.
reference to the family's
That's
emergence from the
wonderful.
bottomless
That's
pit,
wonderful.
the underground
I think
Death
you're
Valley
both very
hideaway,
fine people
where the
to do
group
this.
will escape the
You
violence
have my
of Helter
wholehearted
Skelter.
admiration. And I'm sure
Now,
you
in
won't
British
regret it.
English, although Helter
Sure.
Skelter has the meaning of confused or confusedly, it is more commonly the name of an amusement park
Come
slide,
here.
which this portion of the lyrics suggests
So
is
you came
one
up?
of the term's
Yes,
surface
Harry.
denotations
Well, come
of
in.
the song.
But
There's
only for a
nothing
minute.
to indicate Manson
This has
was
got to be
aware
quick.
of this meaning. Meaning he doesn't know that it means a slide or confused or anything like that. So next lyric, look out,
Now
Helter
then, you
Skelter,
men.
she's coming down fast.
The long and the short of
Yes,
it is that
she
you wish
is.
to apologize to
So
this
the meaning
lady
of
and
this is
gentleman for
the
the
upcoming
terrible,
explosion
outrageous
of
way you behaved
race-based
here today.
violence is imminent.
Is that right?
These are the last few months, weeks, perhaps days of the old order.
Say what you want to say.
Even to someone unaware that Helter Skelter is the name of the slide,
outrageous way
the
you
song's
behaved
mention
today.
of a slide
What else?
might have indicated
There
that the
is
she
more, isn't
in
there?
this part of the lyrics
Yes,
is
Harry.
someone who, literally or otherwise,
Well.
is riding on a slide and coming down
Say
fast.
we'll never, ever again.
So
do
Helter
anything
Skelter
like that
were
again.
out of control. In My Life with Charles
You don't
Manson,
hope that these
Paul
people
Watkins
will
makes
refrain
clear
from
that
bringing
Manson
charges
used
against
her
you.
she
Even
as a
though
reference
these
to
charges
the
may
words
mean the
Helter
end for
Skelter
you.
themselves.
Mean that you go
It
back
is
for the
Helter
rest of your
Skelter,
lives with no
which in
possible
America,
chance of
at
coming out
least,
again, do you?
Can be the noun confusion
I don't suppose
that
there's
is coming
anything you
down
want to
fast,
say.
i.e.
Well,
is the
surely it's not a question of us being
Um,
it'll be in the hands of the police.
Yeah.
It won't be-
In
Laura
the
says,
end,
isn't
yes,
this
yes,
confirmation
yes.
biased to the nth degree?
But unless you bring
Charlie and the
charges,
family?
there's no
Absolutely
case.
it is.
None which
They're
the
seeing
police
what
will
they want to
pursue.
see in everything.
After all, no serious
Um,
damage was done.
it's
No
insane.
injury incurred.
Dick
property
McBastard
has
says,
been
seems like a
defended.
legit interpretation, right? I mean, if you believe that the words
Oh,
Helter
no.
Skelter mean race war, then yes, it's a
That's
legit
supposing that,
interpretation.
We didn't
The
charge
problem
them.
is Helter Skelter doesn't mean race war. That's the issue there.
Well,
A Wild
what
Fox
exactly would
Superior
happen
says
to
it's
them?
me
They
magic.
would be reincarcerated. for
It
breaking
probably
the law.
was. Can you imagine
I couldn't say specifically, but I would prognosticate.
if you can
5
picture
years.
And then they'd be
how
released again?
Contingent,
if
of
they
course, on
really
very
believe
convincing,
this,
absolute
then
positive
they're
indication
actually
of
sitting there
genuine progress
listening to the
towards
White Album,
rehabilitation.
believing that
Yes,
the Beatles wrote it for
but is
them.
any chance
Um,
of their
It's
rehabilitation?
pretty
Well, I'm
it's
reluctant
pretty
to
crazy
make
stuff.
ellipses, but I
Like
consider
it's
they have
it's
a
an
50-60
actual
chance.
thing.
Do I infer by all this that you're actually giving serious
All right, where was I
consideration
at?
to the possibility
In trial
of refraining
testimony,
from pressing
Greg
charges
Jacobson,
against
who
these men?
first met Manson at the home of Beach Boys Dennis Wilson in May or early 1968, described a mural he had eventually seen in Spawn Ranch, where Manson and most of the family were residing at the time of the murders. This is that testimony.
Well,
So
never
Jacobson
mind what you
says
said.
there was a room called, it was
If
an
we were to
old
bring
saloon in
charges,
one of the
then
ranch's old movie sets.
they would never,
and then
ever
prosecutor
get
Vincent,
another chance of
and I'm
rehabilitation.
not going
Well,
to try and pronounce his last name.
well, we feel
I'm calling him
You
Vincent so far. I'm going to keep calling him Vincent. So, prosecutor Vincent says, among the
You feel
front
that,
buildings at the ranch, Jacobson says,
Yes, we ought to
right.
bring charges.
And Vincent says,
Well, boys,
right off Santa Susana
You've
Road
heard that
there.
transpired.
Jacobson says, yes.
Now
And
I
there was a
think it
big
behooves you to
mural
make some
in day
expression
glow
of
colors.
gratitude
It glowed
these
with blue light.
extraordinarily kind
It
people.
depicted
They don't
Helter
have to
Skelter,
say anything, just
and
go.
it was written.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Victor
much.
says the
All right,
words Helter
boys, on your
Skelter were
feet.
written. Jacobson said yes. And there was a
Boys,
picture of the mountains
What
and the
are
desert
you doing?
and Goler
Scratching my
Wash
chin. I'm
and so
scratching my
on.
ear.
And
I
Helter
mean, the
Skelter
handcuffs.
coming down out
What's
of the
happened
sky.
with the handcuffs?
Vincent
Seems to
says
have come
something like
apart.
a map.
Mine has.
Jacobson says it was more like a mural that covered the
This
whole
whole thing
wall.
seems to
It was
come
rather
apart.
impressive. Manson
My
also
whole thing
hears the
seems to have
Beatles
come apart, too.
whispering to him to
Go
call
on
them in
downstairs
London.
now. I don't know what's happened with those handcuffs.
Looks
Doc Griffin says pronounced Bugliosi. Okay, thank you. Well, his name is Vincent Bugliosi. That's the prosecutor there, and every time you heard me say the words Vincent, that's who I was talking about.
Look, are you going or aren't you?
All right.
Yes,
Last
yes,
song
they
is Piggies. So the lyric here, what they need's a good damn. I'm sorry. What they needs a damn good wagon.
What's he doing with that?
That's the lyric from
Let
the
him
song.
open it.
So the
all
significance
right,
here,
know what's inside,
blacks are
have you?
going to give the Piggies, which is the establishment,
Take
a
four.
damn good
Why don't you take
wagon.
it downstairs
This
with you?
phrase Manson
They will
particularly
in a
liked.
minute. But they just
And
asked one.
keep in mind
One
that
last favor.
you know when they
just
did
asked
the
if they could
murders,
have
they
one
wrote
walk
in
the
blood on
road,
the
and that
wall
seems reasonable.
pigs. So probably refers to that. Next lyric: everywhere there's lots of piggies, living piggy
This is a very
lives.
good
You
idea.
can see them out for dinner with their
Bruce,
piggy
do something,
wives,
can't you?
Yes,
clutching
Miss
forks
Carroll,
and
I don't think
knives.
that's a very
to
good
eat
idea
bacon.
at all.
It's just one for the road. No harm.
In Helter Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders,
Absolutely.
which he wrote with Kurt Gentry, Vincent Bugliosi,
And so,
who prosecuted Manson and the others
cheers.
accused
Cheers.
of the Tate LaBianca murders, draws attention to this. He notes that
God,
Leno LaBianca was left with a knife in his
You know,
throat and a
you're
fork
too
in his
kind.
stomach.
I don't think they'll ever
Vincent
forgive you.
has to make the point somewhat indirectly, though, in his book, apparently.
You people are caught, you'll be crushed. Smashed to bits.
All right, so that's the end of that section. So that's the end of the beliefs. We're now going to talk about now that we talked about Manson and his beliefs pretty extensively, I just want to talk about the other family members. You know, people talk about Manson a lot, but myself, I was pretty curious who his followers were. Now we're just going to cover, I think, 4 or 5 of them. Keep in mind, you know, you had the 3 girls that were prosecuted. You had Tex Watson, and then there was another chick that turned turtle.
And if the quarter they do know, they'll forget half. And if the half of the quarter they remember, they'll ignore half.
And if the fraction of a fragment that remains all anyone
And then
will remember
Manson.
is
So
the
those
few
6 people.
statistics.
Those 6 people were the ones that everybody
A
else
few
talked about.
mortal
But
statistics.
there were a lot of
What
other
really happened to
people
a
outside of
certain
those 6
person?
people.
In a certain room at a certain time.
Forget about that.
Remember the many million
You've probably
moments.
seen
Private
pictures go by
humiliation and
where some of them are in
Who
it.
will recall?
A lot of followers out there that we never even hear about. So it's interesting stuff. So I got a clip for you that I want to play real quick. Go ahead and flip over to the circle here. This is a clip of 3 of the Manson girls. Get this up. Here we go. Oh, yeah, no, this is it. So it's just, what's going to hang on. So this is interesting because it shows you the level of, I guess, commitment. Like these girls were in there, man. They were not seeing reality anymore. None of them were. None of these people were seeing. I mean, that should be pretty obvious after we went through all that different stuff. But yeah, so here.
Come on, let's get out of here. What the hell are you doing?
Trying to recognize him.
Recognize what?
Only myself.
They're in court here. They're in court.
Know what I mean? Let's get out of here. What? But we've got to get out of here.
Go home, Bruce!
All right, if that's the way you... Well, all right.
All right.
That's the way...
Yeah, so that's just to kind of give you. There they are. There's the same 3 chicks you just saw sitting in the screen. So, yeah, it's just to kind of give you a sense of, you know, how into this they were. These people were not. They were not dealing with reality anymore. So the first one we're going to talk about is Susan Atkins, and I clip of Susan Atkins. This is creepy as hell too. Let me get this pulled up for you again. I forgot that she was right here. Hang on a second. So this is very strange. This is a little creepy. Hold on. Let's get back over to my circle. This is Susan Atkins. This is the chick they called Sexy Sadie. She was the one you heard talk about. So here she is. Check this out. Watch your lips.
I know no bad. Open this. I'm not against you, huh? No.
So she's moving her lips with him as he's talking. Now, there's some debate about whether somebody screwed with the audio to make it look like she was talking as he was talking. This is what happened. Either one of two things happened. Either she was saying the words as he was saying the words, or she was saying the words immediately after he said the words. Either way, it's fucking creepy. It doesn't matter which one of those is true. It's some weird shit. So, anyway, that is Susan Atkins. That's who that is. Alright, let's get back to the main page. You don't have to stare at her face anymore. There's a nice stabbed up guy for you. Okay. Alright, so Susan Atkins, she was born May 7th, 1948 in San Gabriel, California. The second of three children. Susan Atkins grew up in Northern California. According to her, her parents, Jeanette and Edward Atkins, were alcoholics. Her mother died of cancer in 1963. Over the next 3 years, Susan's life was disrupted by the gradual breakup of her family, frequent relocations, and her leaving home to live independently. Until she was 13 years old, Atkins and her family lived in a middle-class home in the Cambrian Park area of San Jose, California. She was described by those who knew her as a quiet, self-conscious girl who belonged to her school's glee club and the local church choir. 2 weeks before her mother was hospitalized for the final time, Susan arranged for members of the church choir to sing Christmas carols under her bedroom window. After Jeanette Atkins' death, relatives were asked to help look after Susan and her two brothers. Edward Atkins eventually moved to Los Banos, California, with Susan and her younger brother Stephen. When he found work on the San Luis Dam construction project, Edward left the two children behind to fend for themselves. Susan took a job during her junior year in school to support herself and Stephen. Atkins had been an average student in Lay High School in San Jose, but her grades deteriorated when she entered Los Banos High School. So, I just got confused there. It sounded like the same school, but it's not. Sorry. I apologize. Let me repeat that. But her grades deteriorated when she entered Los Banos High School. During this time, she lived with various relatives. In 1967, Atkins met Manson when he played guitar at the house where she was living with several friends. When the house was raided several weeks later by the police, Atkins was left homeless. Manson invited her to join his group, who were embarking on a summer road trip in a converted school bus painted completely black. She was nicknamed Sadie Mae Glutz by Manson, and a man who was creating a fake ID for her at the time. Atkins later claimed to have believed Manson was Jesus. The growing Manson family settled at the Spawn Ranch in San Fernando Valley in Southern California, where on October 7th, 1968, Atkins bore a son by Bruce White, whom Manson called Zizos Zadfrak Lutz. I know I mispronounced
Darling.
that. It's crazy. Atkins' parental rights were terminated when she was convicted of the murders, and no one in her family would assume responsibility for the child. Her son was adopted and renamed from the time of her incarceration in 1969. She had no further contact with him.
Friday scrambled.
So, a quote here from Sexy
How'd
Sadie.
you want your eggs?
She said, "Woman, I have no mercy for you." That's what she said. That's what she told Sharon Tate as she stabbed the pregnant 26-year-old actress in the stomach. One of 6 people she and the other family members killed during the early morning hours of August 9th, 1969. When their leader decided it had been too messy and sent them out again on August 10th, an expedition he joined to show them how it was done, Atkins went along. Though not even 20, she met up with Manson. Atkins had already lived a wild life. Escaping an alcoholic father, the teenager escaped to San Francisco, where she teamed up with 2 convicts for a robbery spree, spent a few months in an Oregon prison, and performed in a topless revue called The Witch's Sabbath, put on by Church of Satan founder Anton LaVey. So just real quick, I want to point out, we talked last week about there being a connection between Anton LaVey, the Process Church, Charles Manson, and it comes up here again, because, she was she did a performance for him. And I think it was Doc Griffin who sent me the picture showing that Anton LaVey was at one of their parties in like an upper room. So.
No. It's my fault.
Alright, but the LSD and Manson's psychological power over her were a toxic combination. She was convicted of 8 murders and sentenced to death, which is answering some questions that had just come up in the chat. Which was commuted to life in 1972 when the California Supreme Court briefly banned capital punishment. Her last unsuccessful parole hearing took place on September 2nd, 2009, less than a month before she succumbed to brain cancer. She was 61.
Are you sure you'll get the 2 weeks off?
Yes,
now,
I'm sure.
I found something interesting while I was looking for information up on Susan Atkins. It seems that there's a very odd trend here on YouTube. Apparently, it's a thing to take images of Susan as a young woman and create a montage of them to music. Love Her Madly by The Doors, Simon and Garfunkel, Chameleon, all these were utilized, among others. It was really strange to see. Just, after this, Google Susan Atkins, The Doors, Love Her Madly, and click on that video. You'll see a ton of other pop-ups in the recommendations. So, I'm not sure what the story is with that, but it's pretty creepy and it's funny as hell.
That's not what I want. That's not what I want at all.
So weird that people are making montages of Susan Atkins, but they're out there. Just go
cooperative she's being. She's making it as tough for me as she possibly can. If I'm going to get her to agree to the divorce, I've got to make sure I don't antagonize her.
Patricia Krenwinkel. Just so everybody knows, after we go through these family members, we're going to get into the night of the murders, which is pretty short, and then we'll move into the last segment.
Come on now, you know I want to.
We're getting pretty close to being done with the article, at least. So Patricia Krenwinkel, born on December 3rd, 1947 in Los Angeles, California, Patricia Krenwinkel's parents divorced when she was 17. After graduation, she moved from California to Alabama to live with her mother. She attended a Catholic college for 1 semester before moving to Manhattan Beach, California, to live with her stepsister, Charlene, who was a heroin addict. Krenwinkel met Charles Manson soon after at a nearby house, where he was visiting along with Mary Brunner and Lynette Frome, better known as Squeaky From. Manson was playing a guitar and immediately captured Krenwinkel, who slept with him that night. Krenwinkel had always had low self-esteem, and Manson manipulated her, telling her she was beautiful and pulling her
And what if they find out?
My dear love, with the owner sitting in the Bahamas, how can he? God bless you,
Krenwinkel
sir,
dropped
and may the sun
everything
rot
and
you.
left her life behind to go on a lengthy tour of the United States with Manson and his followers, embracing the counterculture and taking LSD hundreds of times. It was while his followers were on LSD that Manson, who may or may not have been taking the drug, established his firm grip over his minions, posing as a Christ-like figure to be worshipped.
Come to check the meter. Gas company.
By the spring of 1969, Krenwinkel and many others were fully enthralled with Manson and moved in with him to a secluded ranch in the California desert, where Manson's increasingly bizarre visions of a race war were propelling his every move. On August 8, 1969, Manson sent 4 of his family members, including Krenwinkel, to the house of director Roman Polanski and his pregnant wife, actress Sharon Tate.
Would you come
By
back
the
later?
end of
I'm
the
in
night,
rather a
Tate
hurry.
and 4 others in the house were murdered, and Krenwinkel had stabbed Abigail Folger of the Coffee Empire countless times.
I haven't lived here very long.
The next night, Krenwinkel participated in another murder, this time stabbing Rosemary LaBianca and leaving a carving fork stuck in her husband's lifeless body.
Where is it?
She then wrote "Death to Pigs" on
That's
the
a good
wall
idea.
in the victim's blood. So that was her.
Doesn't seem to be in
All
here.
right. The next
I don't
person
see it in here.
is Charles Tex Watson, the right-hand man here. Tex Watson was a key member of Charles Manson's family. On August 8, 1969, he led other Manson
There isn't any meter in
followers
here.
No, it doesn't seem to be in
into a
here. I
house in
don't see it.
Hollywood
Look, do you mind getting out of here?
and
Why don't you
murdered
try the
actress
bathroom?
Sharon Tate and 4 other
bathroom?
people. The
That's
next
a good
night,
idea.
Watson
Well, come on
murdered
then.
Lino
Miss Willis?
and Rosemary
I believe
LaBianca
there's somebody
as
in your
part
bed.
of Manson's
No, there
helter-skelter
isn't.
vision.
Now, do you mind getting
Watson
out
was
of here?
found guilty of murder
sure
in
there
1971. He has been
It looks like somebody.
Now, just real quick, I want to point something out here.
Didn't
that I
you know
noticed
there was
while
somebody
doing
in
this.
your bed?
Do you mind getting
The
out
events
of here?
of that night seem to be pretty fuzzy.
I am
Who
sorry.
killed who
He
stabbed
seems to
who?
be asleep.
You know, it
husband
it seems
is
to
still
kind of
asleep,
be all
Miss
over the
Wilson.
place.
I'll try the bathroom.
It's kind of weird. For instance, with Sharon Tate.
Well, get rid of him for
Did
heaven's sake.
Susan Atkins kill Sharon Tate, or did Tex Watson kill
Bathroom's over here.
Sharon Tate? And they go back
Okay,
and, you know,
Yes, it's okay.
they go back and forth on this. That,
What
you
is
know,
it?
sometimes
What do you want?
she stabbed
He's my
Sharon
partner.
Tate. Sometimes
I'm Tom.
Tex
He's Dick.
stabbed
Harry's
Sharon
waiting
Tate, but
downstairs. Yes, Harry's
Susan
waiting
held down.
downstairs, just
It's
in
just
case.
weird. So if you see
To read
little
it.
inconsistencies like that as we go through, that's
Yes.
why. Because it
No.
just seems like the stories are
Found it yet.
you know, all over the place.
Where is it?
Anyway,
Well,
I just wanted to
I don't
point that
know.
out.
It may be in
On
the bathroom.
October 2nd,
Or in the
1969,
kitchen.
Watson
I don't think
fled
you
the
look very
Spawn
hard in the
Ranch and
kitchen.
headed back to his native state of Texas. On
Miss
November 30th,
Wilson's husband is still
1969,
asleep.
Watson was arrested in Texas for
Miss
the Tate
Wilson's
LaBianca
husband,
murders.
yes.
He and his lawyers
He's
fought
still in bed.
extradition to California for 9
He's
months.
dozing.
Upon
Dozing.
arriving in California, Watson stopped talking
Maybe there's
and
been a
eating,
mistake.
losing
Maybe it should be
55
Mrs.
pounds,
Willis.
and began
Let me
regressing
see
to a
that.
catatonic state. He was admitted to
No, top floor
at
flat.
the
Miss
Sedero
Willis,
State
Miss
Hospital for a
Barbara
90-day
Wilson, right.
evaluation period
Right.
to determine
Now, will you
if he
please
was
get
fit
on
to
with it and
stand
get
trial.
out of here?
Watson
Yes, let's
stayed
get on
there
with it.
until
I'll check the
February
kitchen. I'll have a good look.
1971, when he was deemed able to stand
Is
trial.
this it? Yes, that's the kitchen.
On October 12th, 1971, Watson was convicted
You'll
of
find
7
it.
counts of first-degree murder
Dick's good at
and
checking
1
things. He
count
checks
of conspiracy
everything.
to commit murder. A week
He's
later,
got the magic
the
eye.
same jury took
Yes, I'm
over
sure
2
he has.
and a half hours
If you don't
to
mind, I'll go and
determine
get dressed.
that
I'll be a little late for
Watson was
work.
safe.
Oh, wait a minute. It'll only take a
On
minute.
October 21st, 1971, Watson was sentenced to death. He arrived on California's death row on November 17, 1971. He escaped execution when the California Supreme Court's People v. Anderson decision resulted in the invalidation of all death sentences imposed in California prior to 1972. Watson was found guilty of the murders of 7 people.
What's the time now?
Abigail Folger,
About 20 past 8.
Well, that's
somebody named Frankowski, Stephen Parent, Sharon
Yes,
Tate
it was over on the
Polanski,
other side of the
who was
by the
also
back
8
door.
months pregnant, Jay
There's no
Sebring,
back door.
Lino LaBianca, and Rosemary LaBianca. And the 7 counts were to be served concurrently. His minimum eligible parole date was November 26, 1976.
Yes.
But he has been denied parole 17 times since then.
Well, that's not very handy, is it? I mean, in case of fire or something. Not
He
very
was
safe,
most
not very
recently
hygienic.
given a 5-year denial
No.
of parole at a board hearing on October 27, 2016.
Oh.
He remains incarcerated at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, California.
He won't be long.
So, I just want to point out that, you know, they got the death sentence, right? They were literally being put to death. That gets overturned because of a California Supreme Court ruling.
I'm securing the door.
And somehow he ended up
So no one can come
eligible
in.
for parole.
I mean,
1976.
don't want to be disturbed
5
while we're
years.
reading the meter, do we?
He did 5 years before he was eligible for parole.
Did you
Killed
call me?
7
No, she called Bruce.
people.
Bruce?
Now they didn't.
Bruce!
The guy's
Yes,
still in
Bruce.
jail, right? They turned
Bruce?
him down 7
Did you take a reading
times.
then? No.
But
I
what
didn't
if,
have my
what if
pad.
the parole board had let him out on that first
What's going on here?
1976? He would have only done 5 years for
What
killing
the
7
hell's going on?
He woke up. Looks like it.
Something
Hasn't
is
got
very
dressed yet.
wrong
No.
in California.
We're sorry
I know
to
I've
have
said
disturbed
that
you, but
a million times.
we're just
you know,
taking a
off
reading
the
of your
show,
meter.
but, man, that place is just
I mean, Miss Willison's
fucked.
meter.
Anyway,
Are you Mr. Willison then?
Linda Casabian
What
was
the hell's
born
it got
on
to
June
do with you?
21st,
Get on with it.
1949.
Darling, they've locked
So
the
Linda's
door.
the next person, by the way. We're moving on from Tex. Linda Casabian was born on June 21st,
What have you done that for?
1949.
security.
in
Just to be on the
Biddeford,
safe
Maine.
side.
Casabian moved to Los Angeles in
I think you better get
1968.
Oh, we'll go.
And
We won't be
through
long.
Catherine
You better go
Gypsy
right
Scher,
now, otherwise-
she met
Otherwise?
Charles Manson.
Otherwise what?
Otherwise,
On
I'll
July
call the
4th,
police.
1969. That's what
Call
she
the
meant.
police.
July 4th, 1969.
We are the police.
At the time,
Special branch.
Yes, we're making a
Casabian
checkup. You see, there are a lot of
was
things we have to
pregnant
check.
was
This
a
is yours,
pregnant 2-time divorcee and the
Yes.
mother of an infant daughter.
That's
She
right.
moved to the Spawn Ranch with Manson and his followers, where she proceeded to fall under his spell.
No. I wouldn't try
At
that if
first,
I were you.
Casabian
It's
found
disconnected.
Manson's message to be
Yes.
peaceful, but within her
It's
first
being
month at the
cut
ranch,
off.
his tone changed to
Harry
one of
took care of
violence
that.
and paranoia,
Yes.
focusing on
Harry took
what
care
Manson
of
called
that downstairs.
helter-skelter.
What do you want? Do you want money?
Money?
He foresaw.
We've
Now,
got
Linda was
money,
the prosecution's key witness,
We've probably got
and
more money
eventually
than
called Manson the devil, not this wonderful
There
man
isn't anything of any
that I
value
was
here.
led to believe.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
While she didn't participate in the murders,
What do you
she
think?
did act as a lookout on both nights, a vantage point that also allowed her to become the state's primary witness against the
Oh, no,
family.
Tom.
Casabian was already a young mother
Well, what do
when
you
she
want?
first met Manson.
What do you want, for
and the
Christ's sake?
family on Spawn Ranch on July 4th,
Whose sake?
1969.
Christ's sake, he said!
Only a month
That's
before
not
the tape
very
and
nice.
That's not nice at all. That's not very
Though she
hygienic.
quickly
think he
fell
better
under the
sit
spell,
down.
No, I think
she
he better
also
act.
quickly shook herself out of it. Only 2 days after the murders, she fled to New Mexico, where she found her estranged husband, Robert. Casabian eventually returned to L.A., where she testified against Manson in exchange for her own immunity, something that prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi,
Did you bring the provisions?
I think I said that right,
yes.
has said was his idea. So Vincent had the idea. She never asked for immunity from prosecution, but we gave it, he told The Guardian in 2009. She stood in the witness box for 18 days and never broke down. Despite the incredible pressure she was under, I doubt we would have convicted Manson without her. Kazaban moved to her mother's home in New Hampshire, where she was hounded by media, eventually moving west, where she was last found living in a trailer park in near poverty. Yeah, I know I'm messing up. Alright, so we are on to Leslie Van Houten. She's the last one before we get into the murders. So Leslie Van Houten. Leslie was an attractive, popular teenager and sexually active by the age of 15. By age 15, she was pregnant and had an abortion. However, even with her sketchy behavior, she was popular among her peers and was twice voted as homophobic. High school. This acceptance did not seem to sway her bad choices. By the time she left high school, she was involved in hallucinogenic drugs and was drifting toward a hippie-type lifestyle. Later described by a psychiatrist as a spoiled little princess, Van Houten was accepted by the family members, but Manson seemed disinterested in her and her pretty face. He never gave her special care. He assigned her to Tex Watson's school. The lack of attention from Manson made Leslie try harder to be when the opportunity on August 10th, 1969, she accepted. With her family idol, Patricia Krenwinkel, and boyfriend Tex Watson by her side, Van Houten entered the home of Lino and Rosemary LaBianca. She was aware that on the previous night, family members had butchered Sharon Tate and 4 others. She listened the night before to the stories Krenwinkel told about the funeral she received as she stabbed her down pregnant Sharon Tate. Now it was Van Houten's chance to make Manson seem performing equally delicious. Inside the LaBianca home, Van Houten and Krenwinkel tied an electric cord around the neck of 38-year-old Rosemary LaBianca. Rosemary, laying in the bedroom, could hear her husband being murdered in the other room. When she began to panic, the 2 women put a pillowcase over her head, and Van Houten held her down as Tex and Krenwinkel took turns stabbing her. After the murder, Van Houten cleaned up traces of fingerprints, ate, changed clothes, and then hitchhiked back to the ranch.
You're not being very polite.
So Leslie was the youngest member of the family and hadn't been with them long before she participated in the murders. Since being arrested, she's been a model prisoner and has been approved for parole by the parole board twice. She's the only one to be approved for parole. Now, as far as I can tell, in both cases, the governor rejected that parole. At this point, it's just a matter of time until some other governor approves it. She'll probably be the only one ever released. That's just my opinion, obviously.
Not everyone has their own island.
Alright, so now we're jumping into the murders. Mr. Takasawa says, "Shit, I'm late." Well, we're into the part that most people probably want to hear now anyway, which is the actual murders, the night of the murders. So,
if you are nice and polite.
All right. On the afternoon of August 8th, 1969, Manson set his plan in motion. Calling together several family members, Manson announced, "Now is the time for Helter Skelter." That evening, he told 3 female members of the family, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kazaban, to get an additional change of clothes, a knife, and a driver's license.
Don't cry, Miss Willison.
Manson discussed details of his plan with a 4th family member, Charles Tex Watson, before all four piled into an old Ford. As they drove down the driveway of the ranch, Manson stuck his head in the car window and told them to leave a sign, he said. You girls know what I mean. Something witchy. Although Tex understood his mission fully, the three women knew neither their destination nor that the night was destined for murder.
A dress shop.
45 minutes or so later, shortly after midnight on August 9th, the group pulled up in front of the Bel Air residence of actress Sharon Tate, famous for her role in the movie Valley of the Dolls.
You work in the same shop, do you? You sell dresses or sweaters, maybe?
Roman Polanski, who was in London at the time working on his next film project, The Day of the Dolphin. In his absence,
Harry was supposed to have taken
two
care of that.
friends
We're still
were
taking
staying
care of
at
that
the large
downstairs.
home at 10050 Cello Drive, including coffee heiress Abigail Folger and her lover, Wojtek Frykowski. Also in the home that night was hairstylist
We don't want to have to tie you up, too.
Nice, sir, if we don't have to tie you up.
After
They'll never give you any
Tex
sweat.
cut
That
the
shop where you work.
telephone
They'll give you any if you
wires
say.
I'll give you a sweater or two.
the four scrambled over the fence at the bottom of the property and began
Harry
heading
should have
up the
taken
hill
care of that.
leading to the
He
residence.
slipped.
A car pulled up the driveway.
Yes.
Tex leaped forward, stuck his hand through the car window, aimed at the driver's head, and pulled the trigger 4
Sit down,
times.
Miss Willison.
The first victim in the Tate LaBianca killing was 18-year-old Stephen Parent, who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. While Kazaban waited below by the car, the other 3 family members entered the Tate home. Within minutes, the screams began.
I think.
Watson would later describe the next 4 victims
party, don't
as
you?
running around the place like chickens with their heads cut off. In all, the 4 victims
Everything
received
seems to be all right, doesn't it?
102 stab wounds.
Everything's
Sharon
fine.
Tate was last to die. So here,
You haven't got any glasses in there, have you?
we're still alive.
In my
you guys are
bag?
being-
No.
Where'd you keep your glasses, Miss Willison?
In the kitchen, probably.
Yes.
So, in all, the 4 victims received 102 stab wounds. Sharon Tate was the last to die, knifed by Watson while she was held
Please
down.
don't
by
cry
Susan
anymore, Miss
Atkins.
Willison.
Atkins said later that she tasted Tate's
Because
blood
we're going to have a
and found it
party.
to be warm and sticky.
Music, dancing.
She took some of Tate's blood and used it
And
to
lots of
scrawl
games.
on the porch wall, "Pig." The next morning, a maid arrived.
People will spend the rest of your
a maid
lives in
arriving
prison for
at
this.
the
You know that,
table
don't
and
you?
Left screaming. Murder, death, bodies,
You're
blood.
not going to play our
Within
games.
hours,
We're just going to
investigators
ignore
discovered
you.
2 badly
Is he playing
mutilated
up again?
bodies
He's being
on the
very...
lawn of the Tate residence. Those of Folger and Frykowski.
That's what I
So I'm
thought.
guessing
We won't
that's
give him
Folger
straight
you've been
down.
seeing in the
Definitely not.
pictures this whole time. Inside, near a couch in the living room, they discovered the bloody, pregnant body of Tate, and with a rope around his neck and bloody towel over his face, Jay Sebring. Manson, meanwhile, expressed his displeasure with the attack at the Tate residence. Too messy, he thought. He decided to accompany the next Helter-Skelter mission, which he scheduled for that very night. In addition to the 4 family members from the previous night's mission, Manson was
poured you a
joined
drink.
by Clem Tufts
Wouldn't you
and
like it?
Leslie Van
It's
Houten.
good whiskey, the best.
Manson ordered
I
Kazaban
bought
to
it
cruise
last
the
night.
neighborhoods
It'll do
of
you
Los
good, you'll like
Angeles in search for potential victims,
I think.
before settling on the home
I'll just
of
check
Lino
that.
and Rosemary LaBianca.
That's a very
Watson,
good idea.
Krenwinkel, and Van Houten were the killers chosen by Manson. As they left the car, Manson told them,
Just
"Don't let them know you are going
check
to
it
kill
out."
them." Police found
You wouldn't want to
Leno
offend us, would
LaBianca with a knife lodged in his throat,
I mean,
12 stab
when
wounds,
you're invited
and
to a
7
party
pairs
and
of
a drink
fork
by the
holes.
host, it's an insult not to enjoy
So
it.
I'm assuming Leno is the guy you've been seeing going across the screen this whole time. That's also just a guess, though. The word war had been carved on his stomach. Rosemary LaBianca was found with multiple stab wounds in her chest and neck. On the LaBianca's living room wall, written in blood, were the words, "Death to pigs," and "Rise." On the refrigerator door was written, "Helter Skelter." Alright. That is it, folks. That is the end of the Manson segment. Jessica HSC, I thought Manson had them picked and directed them to kill the LaBiancas. Yeah. I don't know. It's very strange. Alright. So this is what we're going to do. Obviously, the next segment is the open segment. If you have questions for me, if you have things you want to talk about,
don't you wish you could
put them in the chat, or you can come on the show by joining the Discord down below. If Laura is still around, I know she wanted to come on. I have to use the restroom. So we're going to take like a 2-minute break real quick. You're going to get to hear a little bit more about Charles Manson singing. And then we're gonna see what you guys have to say, what you want to bring up, and see if Laura's still around to come on the show. So I will be right back, folks.
The sun's coming up. I think it's going to be a fine day. The sun's too clean for a party. I think I'll close the curtains.
People say I'm no good, but they never do, they say. Why their world is so mixed up, oh, how it got that way. They all look at me and they frown. Do I really look so strange? If they really dug themselves, I know they'd want to change. Everybody says you're no good, 'cause you don't do like they think you should. Do you expect them, and do you expect you to act like them? Look at them, man, look at the fix they're in. I don't care what they say. Just let them sit there and burn. The young might not be so dumb after all.
Nicer like this, isn't it?
And from the young you might even learn.
Did you find anything?
Everybody says you're no good.
This coat.
Cause you don't do like they think you should. You expect them
That's from a
to
man's
act
suit,
like
isn't it?
you.
Yes.
Do you
Bruce's.
expect you to act like them?
Matches his trousers.
You
So
expect
it
to
does.
see. You
Try
expect
it on.
the fool to see what a fix he's in.
I think I should. Why not?
Do you expect the fool to see what a fix he's in? Cardboard houses.
This is a very smart suit.
Yes, it is.
Alright, folks, we are back.
That's the latest.
Okay,
That's
so
the way they're doing it now.
I know. I've got quite
yeah,
a number
so
of suits
for
like
this
this
part,
at home.
Dick's
keep
rich,
in mind,
you see.
if you want to come on the
He's
show,
terribly rich.
I do see Laura. In
You
the
should
chat,
see
so,
all the clothes he's got.
she just don't want to come on, which is cool.
I don't know where
but
he
if you want
keeps
to come
them.
on after Laura, you're welcome to. We'll talk about
think
whatever
this
you
coat
want
would
to
fit
talk
you better
about.
than me.
Doesn't really matter.
Yes, it's
I
not
just
quite right on
ask
me.
that you keep the drama stuff away. I know there's a lot of drama going on today with some stuff that's come out, but drama is the only thing I don't want. Anything else you want to talk about, we'll talk about. Aliens, ghosts, whatever.
Maybe I'll try.
All right, so let's see if Laura is ready here. Yep, she is in the waiting room. We click on the thing.
Do you find anything else?
Just a second, Laura. I need to reset my voice. I can already tell.
I didn't find any pajamas. I mean, men's pajamas.
Here we go.
No pajamas?
No. He must have been sleeping in his underwear.
All right, I am good.
It's not
All
very
right,
civilized.
Laura,
It's
if
not
you can hear
Very
me,
hygienic.
your mic is muted. I'm gonna pull up the chat. Laura, you there?
Something?
Oh, she just disappeared from Discord.
It's a wallet. Oh, yeah.
Laura,
Bruce,
if you are
Richard,
hearing this
Victor.
on the show,
Victor.
somehow you have disappeared from
good name.
Discord
It's a good,
entirely,
strong name.
and
That's a
we
driving
would
license.
like to get you back.
It expires next month.
Your driving license expires next month.
And there's some money.
Not a serial killer says, this shall give you the most delightful nightmares yet.
It's hardly
Thank you, American Gadfly. I am happy
Here's
to
something.
oblige.
What's that?
I am happy
Bruce
to oblige.
Victor, the Brandon
We'll
real
give
estate
Laura,
agency.
well, no,
He's an
she's
estate
in the
agent.
she's in the Discord still. She just
A
left the
real
room.
estate agent?
Okay, I'm not sure if
A real estate
if you're
agent.
gonna oh, look, there she is. Have a good night, Brad. All right, Laura.
Bruce,
Laura, you there?
have you got any house going for sale? I mean one of your better class houses.
Laura, you there?
Because Dick's been looking for one.
Okay,
Well, he's
I'm going
tired
to
of the
assume
penthouse
you
he's
can hear me
building,
through
and, he wants a real house.
show still.
Well, it doesn't have to be too
What I
big a
want
house,
you to
but,
do, at the bottom of your
8
screen in
to
Discord,
10
there's a little
bedrooms.
gear. On the
with one
left-hand
more
side,
bathroom than there are bedrooms.
click that gear,
Just so long as it's
and
in a
then
good
click
class
on
area.
voice
And
and
everything
video.
all electric.
And at the bottom
I don't
of
like
that,
gas.
click
Yes,
on
Dick's
reset
allergic to
voice
gas.
settings. Every time I have a problem with Discord, I do that, and it fixes it right
Have you
up.
got any house like that?
Or
Bruce?
just
Have you
in
got
case
anything
you
like that
can't
on
hear
your
me
books?
through the show,
Go to
I'm
hell.
going to type that into the Discord. So, I'm going to be quiet for a moment, folks. I apologize for
You
the dead air.
can't do
I
anything.
cannot
with a
speak
fella
and
like
type at
that.
the same
It gets
time.
meaner all the time.
Not officially,
Nothing else.
anyway.
Postage stamps.
What about her things?
She's got quite a few things. But no furs or jewelry.
No furs or jewelry?
No.
Oh, dear, dear.
All right. So we'll see if Laura gets this figured out.
Barbara?
In the meantime,
Bruce, Richard, Victor,
I
we
am
didn't
looking.
invite
Oh,
you
there
to
she
our
is. She's
party, so
talking in the
don't
chat.
be
I can
rude.
hear.
Miss
trying
Willison
to
is
work it out.
happy.
Sorry. No problem. It's okay. I know it's hard the first time. I had issues the first time too. First time I tried using Discord, we were in there for like 10 minutes before I figured it out. Luckily, I wasn't on the live show at the time, so it was all good.
Are you happy, Miss Willison?
Yeah, just click on that gear, click on the voice settings, and then click reset.
Have
While
another
we're
drink,
waiting for
Miss
that,
Wilson.
while she figures that out, just to kind of give everybody, because she sent me a thing. I'm pretty sure this was her. Yeah. We're going to be talking about. She's got a couple of stories for us, stuff that she went through herself.
Cigarette,
Had
Miss
to
Wilson.
do with Shadow Man. She's got Top Hat Man and Shadow Man stories. For us. Yeah, I remember because a few of my subs got kind of triggered at Ian Miles Chong the other day when he was talking about Shadow Man, and that prompted Laura to want to come on the show and talk about it.
They help you to fly,
So
Miss
hopefully
Wilson.
she gets that figured out. I would love to hear her stories on the Shadow Man. If not, Laura, that's okay. We can always get you next week too. We'll give you some time to figure out Discord. So busy.
Miss Wilson. Come with us.
So let's see what the chat's doing. Let's see what the chat's doing.
I can see right up your
PMM
nose.
says, please no drama. Dick Bastard says, stay on topic, please. None of your business says, what do you think about Manson being called a serial killer even though he never killed 3 people. You know, that's something that's always kind of weird about this, right? Manson, like on the one hand, you would say he never actually killed anybody. So did he do anything wrong? Now, recently, some of you might remember this, and this was creepy as shit too. In fact, we should do a show on this one night. There was that chick. This happened like a year or 2 ago. The girl convinced the guy over text and phone to kill himself, right? And then she got charged for like manslaughter or something. He killed himself, but because she convinced him to do it, she got charged. So obviously I wasn't alive when all this went down, so I don't know what it was like. I don't know what it felt like back then. But I can tell you that reading...
There was a craze once for keeping baby alligators as
happened
pets.
with that chick that convinced the guy to kill
The pet
himself.
shops did a roaring
All I
trade.
could think, listening to those messages,
They were
and reading those
imported in
texts, was,
thousands.
this bitch better go
Little
to jail.
baby alligators.
Whatever it is,
Just
what she did was
hatched out.
wrong. It was clearly wrong. It was very malicious. There was something wrong with
Just
her.
like lizards.
So she needs to go to jail.
Big heads.
And I imagine, you know,
They were so
same thing
playful
with Charlie here.
and cute.
That's a good question. It's an interesting.
Cuddly. But of course, the ones that
Sicko Fire,
survived soon began to grow bigger.
Speaking of, I don't think I've ever seen you
Become
chat
rather
before.
awkward to
I
handle,
apologize if you have
rather
been chat
on the
before, I
rough
forgot
side.
you. But he says, I
Not
can't
quite
hear
so
no
cute
spooky
and cuddly.
music. Jessica says,
Fact.
save the drama for your mama.
A nuisance to have
Tom
around
says,
the
keep your
house.
drama out of this campus. Jiggles arms.
Breaking things, snapping, doing business all
Wild
over the
Fox
place.
says, huh? Can't rewind live stream anymore?
Suddenly there were
yeah, they
hundreds
did
of
that.
them that
They
nobody knew what to
implemented
do
that
with.
a little while back. I'm not sure why.
The pet
but they
shops
did.
didn't want them back again.
Laura says, be right there.
Lots of those little
let's go
alligators
a little bit.
ended up in the
Hawk
dustbins.
says, Discord
with their heads chopped
is
off.
known for being fine one day and fucking your shit up
Others.
next, so no worries. Yeah, I've had that issue too. I have to reset it all the time, almost
Ended
every
up
time.
in the local zoo.
Nunya says, oh, I think he is an accomplice, but he did not kill 3 people, so I don't think he should be called a serial killer.
Ended up a
Yet the people
different
who
way.
did the killing are not classified as a
They
serial
went
killer.
a different
I would
way.
agree with you, actually. You know, they're more like
You
spree
see,
killers
people
than
discovered
serial
there was one
killers. And that's
extremely
that is a
simple way of
distinction.
getting rid of a
Because there's
little
supposed to be
alligator,
a
so long as you
cooling
hadn't
down
let him grow
period
too big.
in between kills when it comes
You
to
just
a serial
dropped him
killer.
down the
So
toilet and
I
pulled
agree
the
with
flush.
you. I don't think he's a
That's
serial
right.
killer, and I wouldn't call
Drop
them
him in,
serial
head
killers
first,
either.
plop, down he
You
goes.
might be able to make
Just
the
like you
argument
do
that
every
there was
day.
a cooling down period in
He's
between the Tate and the
He's
La
out of
Bianca
sight.
murders, but I don't know. I kind of see him as more like spree killers.
He's out of your house.
All right, we got
Don't
Doc
have to
Griffin.
think
waiting.
about
Let's
him
go on,
anymore.
Doc. Hey, Doc, how's it going, man?
But what if you're the alligator?
Doc, you there?
You haven't just vanished, have you? Where are you?
Hello.
You're in a pipe.
Yeah,
being
Doc, I'm not
carried
hearing
along
you on
by
my
some
end.
water. Pretty soon that water stops and you're
Not
stuck
muted.
in that
Might just
pipe.
need to reset your voice.
You try to crawl along.
None of
It's
your
very
business
tight,
says
there's not
same
much
spree
air.
killers, not serial.
After a while, maybe
Yeah.
hours, some more
We're on the-
water
we're on
comes
the same
down
page there.
and washes you further along.
You says serial killers also have
After
an
more
MO.
hours,
They generally don't change.
maybe days, you're washed
Um,
out of that pipe and dumped into a larger one, like a tunnel.
I mean, there have been some
where
exceptions
there is
to
much
that.
more water.
What
and
was the
mess.
ice pick killer? The guy
And where
killed
the
over
movement
100
is
people, and
faster.
they were all
You're carried along,
because his
swirling,
business was killing
floundering,
people. And he
gasping.
also did it for
But since
pleasure
you're an
instead of
alligator,
being
you
a
swim
serial
pretty
killer.
well.
But-
And then suddenly,
well, I
one
guess
day,
he used ice pick
splosh,
also. I guess that could be MO.
you're gushed out into a great black lake of slime. It's very dark down there.
Wild
in the
Fox says they've
sewer.
been doing this all day. Every guest can't be heard.
Very quiet.
Yeah, I can't hear him at all. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe
swim
it's a problem
around
with Discord. I don't
Desperately,
know.
trying to find something to get your feet onto. Because
Laura
after all,
started a call.
you
She
are
ended
not
the call. All right, I'll play along, Laura. Let's see what
fish.
happens. Hello?
Perhaps you never do find anything to get your feet onto and you eventually drown.
Call.
Or perhaps you die of asphyxiation.
Yep, that didn't work.
Or perhaps you
back in with Doc. Doc, can you hear me?
gradually starve to death.
Man, Discord is being a punk.
Perhaps you do find a foothold.
Yeah, on
you
my end,
find
Doc
a
says I
resting
see
place, a
the
breathing
light coming on, but I
space.
can't hear you at all. I don't even see your light. I
eyes
see
grow
my light.
tuned
I
to
don't
the
see yours.
darkness.
It's weird.
And perhaps in that
Laura
particular
says
sewer,
call. I'm going to join the call again.
there are rats.
Hello?
And vermin and
Laura, you there?
dung flies.
Alright, so this is
You
what
are
I'm going to do.
able
I'm going to close out Discord
see,
completely and pull it
Chase,
back up.
catch, and
Because
eat.
who knows, maybe it is on my
Those
end.
rats and vermin and dung flies.
So let's try
You
this.
even eat some of what you are floating around in.
I just exited out of Discord, pulling it back up.
You exist. You survive. You live. You grow.
Alright.
You learn your way around down there. You know where the rats are.
Let's go
You
back.
know where the resting places are.
C to C. And
You
let's
grow
try
bigger
Dick.
and bigger and bigger.
Right.
And
There.
perhaps one day
Dick, how
you
you
become
doing?
a full-sized alligator.
Hey, pretty good. How about you?
Not too bad, man. You're on the air.
Can you
What's up?
imagine the surprise of the
Oh, I don't
first
know.
government
I was
sewage
just
inspector
showing
went
that I
down
could
there
make
one
it
day
work.
and came face to face with a
Oh,
monster
all right.
alligator.
let's pull in Doc. Let's see if he's got it.
That man
Doc, you
ran
there?
faster than he never run before in his
I
life.
am here. Are you there?
Yes, sir. It looked
That
like
man's never been seen again.
me resetting the Discord fixed it, so I guess it was me. I apologize for that.
In some cities,
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it was
They
like
have to
your fault. I
organize
think Discord
teams.
just sucks.
Yes,
of
Discord does.
experts
Agreed.
to go down
Yep.
into those sewers.
All right, what's up, Doc?
With searchlights and rifles and machine guns
Just
to hunt those alligators and kill
a
them.
quick
and
thing
they do.
about how he was completely hands off. He knew exactly what he was doing, and I think
Baby
that's the most
alligators
frightening part,
are no
because
longer permitted
if
to
you
be
take a look
imported as
when
pets.
they
It's not
started going to the
surprising.
Spawn Ranch after basically the Beach Boys manager kicked him out, and they had to find someplace else to
Never in
live.
your life
I mean, he got picked up for a lot of petty
you
crime,
find yourself down in a
and
sewer
he
and you
learned
come
that he
face
didn't
to
like
face
jail
with an alligator
that much. So
blinks
he
at you
figured
from
out
the
how to
fog,
finagle his way in
who
for the
hates you with
Spawn
all his
Ranch,
might,
and he started
who opens his
teaching the
huge
kids how to
jaws to
steal.
take you in.
But in order to get him completely over, he spent a lot of time
Blame him.
starving these kids out because he had a lot of drugs. He had good drug connections. But then when they'd run low, he'd send people out to rob and steal. So they focused more on the drugs that they could bring in than actually feeding themselves, which made them more susceptible to what he wanted them to do.
Charlie Manson's whole thing where he eats like too much drugs.
Yeah.
Well, he was...
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's a combination of too much drugs, broken homes, I'm sure his father was probably abusive, listening to quote-unquote lost, might not be drugs,
Full of personality.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, back then, anybody who had a guitar and could strum a few chords started bringing people around them, especially the weaker-willed people. The daddy doesn't love me, or just stepped off the bus. He swept in on them and picked them up. But it's easy to become a leader when you surround yourself with weak people. And he did an incredibly effective job doing it.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah, he was a good con man. I mean, he found his way into Brian Wilson's house.
Yeah, I don't even know if I really believe that he even believed in anything.
Yeah, well, it's interesting point.
Maybe he didn't.
Yeah, something I kept thinking while I was watching a lot of this stuff is because he believes in all these different processes all these different things brought together package. And so you have to think that somebody who is selling something like that, they know what they're doing. So,
it's kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah. And when you watch, when at the end of the show, I'm gonna play the show out with like 10 minutes of him just talking. In his crazy rants that he does, just to play the show out, and when you watch that,
is it the Geraldo interview or the Diane Sawyer one?
There's like 10 different ones, all mixed into one compilation. Okay. It's just him acting crazy, and I do think he's acting crazy. I don't think he's actually crazy.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Okay. Cool. Anything else, guys?
Oh no, he was just a total sociopath.
To listen to the music.
No, not really. Thanks for having me on.
He was not insane.
Always
definitely a sociopath for sure. All right, I appreciate it.
Listen to the music.
Thanks, American.
Yep, have a good one, guys. All right, Laura, you there? Your mic is muted this time. So down there at the bottom, you can unmute your mic.
It's getting dark out and it's raining. Just slightly.
Laura, you around? Your mic is definitely muted. You just look down there at the bottom, click the little mic icon.
Richard.
You should be good.
Is he your boss? My boss? Definitely not.
But you're his assistant,
All right,
aren't
Laura,
you?
I'm going to give you 30 seconds, sweetheart, and if we don't get you this time, we'll get you next time.
Partners.
He treats you like an assistant.
Well, I'll give you a minute.
No.
I freak out with dead air. I don't have any sort of radio background or anything like that. It's just when I listen to other streams and I hear the dead air, it's like nails to a chalkboard to me. So now when I'm on my show, I don't have something to talk about. I start to freak out a little bit inside.
You were asleep.
These people are here watching me.
No, I wasn't.
I got 30 people staring at me right now, and I have nothing to say. It's the worst.
Called me
so,
did he?
I don't want to. All right, you're unmuted. Can you hear me?
We are partners.
You get your fair share of everything.
Unmuted now, so
yes.
I can't hear you though.
I don't believe it.
Yes.
I bet he takes everything he wants for himself.
Hawk says, sorry, but I'll have to bounce
he's
over there.
very
Can't
generous.
Stocks and stuff in a chat.
He gives me anything I want.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Like I said, if you guys want to go check out the
He just
Primitive,
uses you.
It's fine. No, it's okay, Laura. What we'll do, if you want to, we'll get together sometime this week to make sure your stuff's working right, so you know how to use it.
Something I saw in your
that
wallet.
way we can get you next week.
I didn't mention it at the time. I didn't want to
Stevie
cause
Bird,
any
you there?
embarrassment.
I saw your
What was
your
that?
mic's blipping, but I'm not hearing anything. You there?
A photo of two
maybe
little girls.
turn up your mic.
Well,
whose little girls are they?
they're mine.
But not Miss Willison's.
No.
See, I can't.
You mean you're married to
can't
somebody
actually
else
hear you.
and you're with Miss Willison?
It's
I don't know
none
if
of
you
your
can hear me
business.
now. I can't hear you.
That doesn't seem very nice.
That
doesn't seem
man.
very...
I can't hear you. It might. I don't know if you need to turn your mic
Very
up
harmonious.
Oh, go to hell.
A wife,
I saw you mute.
2 lovely children, and
You
Miss
there?
Willison. And you wish us in hell.
Yeah, I'm still not hearing you, bud.
Bruce. Have a piece of salami.
No.
All right. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Discord tonight, but it doesn't appear to be working. So obviously, if there's something else big going on that everybody wants to go watch, I don't want to hold anybody up from that. And we're obviously having issues with Discord. So I appreciate Laura and CB Berg trying to come on. We will definitely get you guys next week for sure. I'm going to go ahead and close the show out. I've got it's like a 6 to 10 minute clip of Manson just acting absolutely insane. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to that. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you for showing up. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate every one of you. Follow me on Twitter @AmericanGunfight2. And don't forget to join the Discord. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. We will be back here next Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
Like when he tried to, as he puts it, take me to a higher level.
That was nice music you had on.
Or when I again asked
We
him
heard
to
some of that.
define his unique charm. What do you think it is about you that makes people want to be a part of whatever it is you're a part of?
I thought so. Give him some.
No, he doesn't want it.
Oh, you don't know what he's missing.
Brand new. I'm on the premise of reality. I want a real life. I'm a real person inside. I'm not a phony. I don't put on no airs. I say what I think. You see what I'm saying?
Aren't you putting on an air now? Aren't you putting on an air for me?
When you look at back, see, it's an air. See if you get it. And someone sees it and goes by and they say, hey, how you doing? I said,
aren't you putting on an air now?
I'll put some music on.
Well, God, I guess you're my best friend, being I invented you.
Goes by and they say, hey, how you doing?
What are you doing? Sure. Where are you going?
Well,
God, I guess you're my best friend, being I invented you.
Goes by and they say, hey.
Which Jesus?
You know where you're going?
Jesus, there's a black Jesus down in Florida. He's having a good time. There's a Mexican Jesus.
Have some
in
salami,
Mexico.
Bruce, and settle down.
This is Jewish Jesus. I mean, Jesus, you know. There's all kind of Jesus coming back everywhere. And nothing can stop it. It's a consciousness that lives in your mind. You know.
Tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me if you could describe your childhood in a couple of sentences, how would you describe it?
I didn't have a childhood.
Tell me a little bit more. Tell me more.
I went to reform school in '43, and I've been fighting ever since.
Was it as bad as you describe in the book that was co-authored by New Orleans?
That wasn't my book.
That wasn't your book. But what about the parts describing your childhood and your experiences in reform school?
That was him writing the book.
So the part about that school in Indiana, that's not true, how you were treated?
Bits and parts of it are true, and bits and parts of it aren't.
Tell me how you would describe how bad it was for you in these reform schools.
A child don't know what bad is.
Well, he says in the book that you were raped, that you were beaten constantly.
Come on, man.
That's not true.
That's what he would like to believe, but there ain't nobody can do that.
So you're saying that that didn't happen?
No.
So you didn't have a lousy childhood then?
Yeah, I had a terrible childhood, but I'm from here.
This kid looks like it.
In other words, it didn't get you?
No, I've never sold out. They've never beat me. I haven't been beaten.
Tell me about your terrible childhood.
The child doesn't know what terrible is.
You don't want to talk about it, I think.
I'm telling you, a child doesn't know what terrible is.
Give me a little
terrible,
Give me a little description of it.
What is terrible? You know, terrible. What does that mean, terrible?
I don't know. You used the word, so I'm trying to get you to describe
I didn't. He used the word in his book. I didn't. I'm not a sniveler. I don't cry. I don't snivel. I don't look for excuses to get off on other things.
Do you feel blame? Are you mad? Do you feel like wolves kebabs right friends? Get friends.
The oven has SS written on it. I come out of the bakery, 1954. So someone's got to be killed. Somebody told somebody some lies, and somebody's going to kill somebody. So I come out of the bakery pushing the broom, and they got this guy in the butcher shop, and they're stabbing him to death. I'm walking a line. I'm not a snitch. I don't run and tell the cops tales. I stand on my own 2 feet. So one of them looks over and says, Manson, get on the point. So I take the broom and I get on the point. And I'm watching and I'm thinking, that tramp better not move from me. If he moves to me, I'm going to take him home to his mama. You dig? So he doesn't move to me and I don't move to him. So they got this guy and they stabbed him to death. And you can't kill anyone in the kitchen in a penitentiary because it makes it bad for the food. It's bad for everyone. It creates a lot of paranoia. So they're cutting this guy in half. And they're trying to put him in the garbage can. They can't get him in the garbage can. So they cut him in half and bend him, and they got the elevator, and they're smashing the elevator down, trying to put him in the can. He's got half in one can and half in the other can, and they're trying to smuggle him out of the kitchen. And they smuggle him out of the kitchen, and I'm pushing the floor. The guy come up and says, what happened? I said, what happened where?
We take it for granted.
He said, what did you see? I said, see what? Where? What are you talking about? I don't see nothing, man. All my life, I've been on that line. I don't ever see anything. I know nothing. I know nothing. I'm zero. I don't get involved. I don't run and tell them cops protect me. I protect myself. And whatever happens, happens, man. People getting killed around me is no new thing. You come to prison, man, there's people getting killed in prison all the time. You go to San Quentin, these men, every time they walk the yard, they gotta wear, you got your, yeah, look, he gotta wear shields, man. In other words, you got all kinds of violence and fear that runs in these places. When you live a life like that, it becomes a natural thing, you know.
I don't want to take my time going to work. I got a motorcycle and a sleeping bag and 10 or 15 girls. What the hell I want to go off and go to work for? Work for what? Money? I got all the money in the world. I'm the king, man. I run the underworld, guy. I decide who does what and where they do it at. What am I going to run around and act like I'm some teeny bopper somewhere for somebody else's money? I make the money, man. I roll the nickels. The game is mine. I deal the cards.
The mind is in there.
We have to be sorry.
You put me in a dark, solitary cell.
Take care of all the little details.
To you, that's the end.
We never leave anything behind.
To me,
You won't leave anything behind.
It's a universe in there. There's a world in there.
Parcel you up and take you with. We have a special system. We've got a private disposal system for parcels. Yes, I'm looking.